Fiancé, 24-year-old Julie Bressler, are suing former friends, 48-year-old furniture builder Stephen Canerick and his son, 20-year-old Andrew. Alan claims Andrew bashed his car with a shovel. The Canericks have a countersuit, claiming Alan damaged their quad runner.
Order. Come to order. All rise. Yeah, this is case number 164 on the calendar in the matter of Conklin Bressler versus Canerick.
Thank you.
Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Young man, have a seat.
Mr. Conklin, you were present during the course of this incident, but you were not. Is that right?
Yes.
You are here only because the car in question is titled in your name.
Yes.
All right, why don't you have a seat? Mr. Conklin, it is your claim, according to the papers that you filed, that the defendant's son, that would be you, damaged your car with a shovel, intentionally hitting your car with a shovel.
Yes.
This happened at their home during an altercation. They are counterclaiming for damage that you allegedly did to an all-terrain vehicle, as well as harassment and assault. So first tell me, how do you know the defendant and his son?
Well, we're good friends for the last 4 or 5 years, and he helped me with a job. And
what do you mean he helped you with a job?
Working at a shop, you know, because I was out of work, and I'm in construction, so it was tight.
What were you doing at his house?
I was doing work for him, doing spackling, and I went over one Sunday. I said, and I was talking to him, see how he's doing, and his son, 12-year-old son, was driving his quad up and down the street.
He's driving his
motorcycle, four-wheeler.
Is that this young man here?
Yes, Jonathan. I stayed approximately 15, 20 minutes. I was like, all right, Steve, you know, I'm gonna go. I got in my car, started it up. It was still in park. His son comes down the road.
The little boy?
Yeah, the little boy.
Step up here. Yes?
And he pushes his quad, his motorcycle, against my front end of my car. He rips off the license plate and also the frame of the license plate, and I had to get it refiberglassed.
Did he do that on purpose?
He was pushing against my car when I was in it. I was still in park, and then he backs up and everything comes off.
So what happened after he did that? You were in the car?
I was in the car. The father's girlfriend has grandsons. They were over at the house. They were yelling that the license plate was off, and I got out of the car. I looked at it. I grabbed his son, and I held him.
Just a second. How did you grab his son?
By the shoulders. And I held him, and
how did you hold him?
I held him by the shoulders with one hand.
Show me.
Like this, with one hand. And was yelling at him, putting the license plate. I knew he was not going to put the license plate back on.
So you put your hands on him, and you were yelling at him?
And then he started...
Is that right?
Yes, that's right.
Okay.
And then he started crying, so I let him go. The quad was in front of my car, so I got on the quad to move the motorcycle and so I can leave, because the father was pushing me after that incident.
Just a minute. We're not there yet. The little boy starts to cry because you were holding him and yelling at him.
Yeah.
You let him go.
Yes.
Where did he go?
He ran in the house.
And what's the very next thing that happened, Mr. Conklin?
His father came over, started pushing...
That's this gentleman here.
Started pushing me. His girlfriend started coming over and pushing me. I give him one...
Just a second. What were they saying to you when he...
Get out of here, get out of here. You know, and I was like, Steve, are you going to pay for this? Are you going to pay for this? And he was like, get out of here, we'll talk later. And it was this all big confusion.
Oh, I'm going to make it very unconfusing. So the father is yelling at you to get out of here.
Mm-hmm.
You assumed his father was yelling at you because he would put your hands on his son. Is that right?
Yeah, but then...
Is that right?
Yes.
That's why he was yelling at you, because his son ran back into the house crying.
He attacked me. He did not take me by the shoulders.
Tell me what he did. Tell me your first name.
John?
Yes, John. Tell me what he did.
He got out of the car, and he took me by the neck and smashed my head against the car saying, fix it. How would I be able to fix the car if he was attacking?
Your Honor, that's not true. I have the police report from the statements from the police. I have his report and also mine.
I'd like to see it.
And it says that I grabbed him and there would be no charges against him.
Just a second.
Or me,
Just
because
a second.
I just grabbed him.
Just a second. It says you grabbed him. The boy says that you grabbed him and hit his head against the car.
That's not true.
But you did grab him.
Yeah, I did grab him.
And you did yell at him.
Yes.
Wrong. You have no right to do that. And he's upset thinking about it now, which means that it was a very upsetting experience for him. Let's say you're in a car accident with somebody. You get out of your car and you grab them?
No, you...
Of course not. You don't put your hands on them, right?
Your
What
Honor,
gives you the right to put your hands on him?
I was just trying to scare him. I knew he was not going to put the license plate back on.
Why were you trying to scare him?
Because he was careless by pushing the car, and he kept on doing it, trying to muscle the car away, and then he pushes it back, and the license plate and everything comes off. And he's laughing and laughing, and I just grabbed him and said, "You going to put it back on?" And he starts crying, and I let him go.
Yeah, okay. So let's get to the damage to your car, sir.
Excuse me, Your Honor.
Just a second. We're going to get to you.
Okay.
I guarantee it. Go ahead.
When the officers came to my house...
No, I don't want to hear officers come to your house. We haven't gotten to the part, sir, where you say that your car was hit with a shovel.
Right.
Get to it.
Okay.
Father comes out and tells you to get out of here.
The father was outside, and he's grabbing me, pushing me with his girlfriend. I get on the quad so I can move it. He's grabbing me, pulling me. So I get off the quad, and it got flipped.
Just a minute. You got off the quad, which is his motorcycle.
Yes.
But it's a child's motorcycle.
No, it's a fully sized quad. It's a four-wheeler. It's a full-grown sized motorcycle.
You know what that looks like?
Yeah.
Your Honor, I have pictures if you'd like to see.
I'd like to see it. Make it easier for me.
Pretty big size.
Okay. So you got on this thing, and then
Try to put it in neutral.
And the father came out, and you flipped it.
Yes.
You flipped this thing.
Yes. To get it out of the way so I can leave, because his father and his girlfriend was pushing me, telling me to get out of here, and that's what I was planning to do, and it was in front of the car still, and I could not move because there was another car behind mine.
Okay. Did you say to them, would you move that thing and then I'll leave?
Oh, yes, I did.
So you picked it up and flipped it.
Just flipped it so it can move out of my way.
When you flipped it, did it land right side up?
It landed backside up. The front bars.
Now, it would seem
first.
to me that if you could flip it, you could just pull it out of the way. Is that right?
True, but
Just a second. You could just pull it out of the way. If it's flippable, it's pullable.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Alan Conklin says his car was damaged and vandalized during a visit to the home of Stephen Canerick. Stephen says Alan attacked his 13-year-old son, Jonathan.
So you flipped it. Go ahead.
and flipped it.
And damaged it.
Damaged it, the handlebars.
Go ahead.
And the father started pushing me. The girlfriend
I heard
also.
the father pushed you. I heard
He
the
kept
girlfriend
on-
pushed you.
kept
I
on-
heard. I
And
heard.
So I give him one little push. He does a backwards tumblesort on the ground.
Who does?
The father.
Yes.
And the girlfriend of the father went in the house, called the police. Then his older son, Andrew, came outside the house with a shovel, started swinging it, hit my car. In the meantime, I'm fighting the father, but he's pushing me and everything. I take the shovel away from Andrew, the son. I take it and I throw it. Then he picks up a scooter and starts swinging it at me. So I push them both. I get in the car and I leave. And when I'm leaving, the son goes and picks the shovel up again and hits the back of my car while I'm leaving.
Now I'll hear you.
Your Honor, I've been a good deeder in a sense to help Alan out over the years since I've known him. True, when he needed a job, I found him a job. I even gave him a job. 2 weeks prior to this incident, both Alan and Julie needed a place to live. Evidently,
Your Honor, that's not relevant to the case.
I'm not...
Sorry. Sorry.
Go ahead.
evidently, Alan and Julie needed a place to stay. She being pregnant, they were living with Julie's father and mother and were asked to leave. I allowed them to stay in my home. I had to ask them to leave about a week after they moved in because Alan got violent with Julie. And not only did he physically
Your
grab
Honor, that's
her...
not true.
Excuse me, I'm talking
Just a
now.
second.
Okay.
Do I need help?
Sorry.
Good. Don't do it again.
Okay.
He verbally assaulted her by calling her some graphic names, not only in front of my child, but in front of my girlfriend and my family. I told him that I wouldn't allow that kind of behavior in my home, and that I didn't want him to stay any longer, and that he would have to leave, and that I didn't want him coming back. He left. I was working on my yard 2 weeks after the fact. Alan came over looking for a spackle knife, claiming he had a job to do the following day, and he had left it at my home. He walked into my garage, looked for it, and I told him, Alan, it's not here, and you don't belong here. I want you to leave. Jonathan and Alan do not get along. They've had many an argument about anything and everything. I told Alan to leave, and with that he said he would, and he walked to the end of the driveway, and I heard his car start, and I went back to my gardening. When I heard my son screaming, I turned around, and Alan had him by the neck, in front of his car, smacking his head with the license plate, yelling at him to fix it. He kept on saying, fix it, fix it.
He was smacking him in the head with the license
Yes.
plate? Go ahead.
I ran over. I got between them. I grabbed Alan away from my son. He let go of my son, who ran into the house. Alan stood up because he was bent down, pushed me, and I fell. As Jonathan ran into the house, he walked over to the quad, which was right in front of his car, picked it up from the front, and rolled it 180 degrees, shouting, "See how you like it now," to Jonathan. Joanne, my girlfriend, and the children were screaming. She went into the house. A couple seconds later, my son Andrew came running out. In my defense, picked up a shovel, swung it, and I managed to get onto my feet before he hit Alan in the head, and he hit the car. With that, the police came, Alan left, and that's the story.
What?
I called the cops, and it wasn't my dad's girlfriend. I'm the one. Because when he hit me, I ran in hysterical crying, and I called the cops.
Why did you back your quad into his car?
He was pushing me with the car, thinking he was funny.
He was pushing you.
Yeah, and my quad was going up. The quad fell, and I didn't want to start, so I put it in reverse, and the license plate cranked off. He got out of the car, took me by the neck, and smashed my head against the thing. Fix it, fix it, fix it. How would I be able to fix it if he's hitting me and doing what he was doing?
Why did you come over to where his car was?
I was riding the quad.
I understand that. You were riding the quad, but if you didn't get along with him, why did you come over to where his car was?
Because before the fact, I was washing the quad, and I put it on the side to dry. But then after it dried, I took it out for another ride.
Don't make stories. Answer my question. I said, if you don't get along with him, why did you go near his car?
I don't know.
That's a better answer. Now, I'm not making an excuse for him. He's bigger, he's older, and he's got a temper problem. So I have to determine whether the older son, that's you, was acting in defense of both his brother and his father when he hit your car with a shovel. And I find that he did and was acting in defense to get you to leave the property because at that time you were trespassing on his property. The moment he told you to leave, that you were not welcome there anymore, you were no longer an invited guest. You had absolutely no right to put your hands on a 12-year-old for any reason whatsoever. Whether I believe that you just put your hand on his shoulder or that you smashed him with the license plate, he wasn't injured, but frightened because of your size, your bulk, your age, your anger, all of those things. You're bigger, you're heavier, you're older, and you're angry. And he may be a smart alecky 12-year-old, but you're supposed to be able to maintain your temper. Okay.
Your Honor, can I say something?
Sure.
The police came over to my house. I was going to have his son arrested for criminal mischief. His father starts panting and starts stomping his feet and saying, no, no, no. Then I want him arrested for grabbing my son.
Absolutely right.
Okay.
Absolutely right. There is a difference between property damage and putting your hands on someone else in anger. The police tried to resolve this dispute between two people that knew each other. That's not what we're here for. I'm not trying to resolve your dispute amicably. I'm here to rule on it. And I'm ruling, sir, that you had absolutely no right to put your hands on a 12-year-old. And anything that flowed from that is your responsibility, including fixing your car. Put your hand down. So, and if it's her car, your girlfriend's car, fix it. He's got a temper. Is that right?
Yeah.
Good. So you gave someone with a temper permission to drive your car. You knew his temper, you knew the car, you put those two things together?
But, Your Honor, it's illegal in New York to drive a quad in the street.
I don't care. That has nothing to do with this. It has absolutely nothing to do with this. What it has to do with is his temper. And he had no right to put his hands on somebody else's child or anybody else as a result of, let us call it, a traffic accident. Can't do that. And anything that flows from that, you deal with it. Now let's get to the quad. The quad was damaged. You got to pay for that. You did it on purpose. You did it out of anger. How much does it cost to fix it?
I have two estimates here.
Cheapest one is $1,005.15. Is that right?
Yes, it is, Your Honor.
Okay. You have a lot of other things in your counterclaim, harassment and that sort of stuff.
Yes.
You intend to pursue that?
Yes, I would.
Go ahead.
First off, the harassment happened after, obviously, after this incident, where he called my son Jonathan, several times on the telephone, telling him that
No, don't tell me what he told Jonathan. Did you receive phone calls from him?
Did I personally?
No, Jonathan.
Did I?
Oh,
Yes,
you're
I
Jonathan.
did. Would you like me to explain?
Yeah.
All right. He called me up like several times, asking me for money, and who am I? Who's he asking me for money when he should?
Just tell me what he said to you.
He's like, I want my money. I want my car fixed, and he was like yelling at me and cursing me out.
Okay, how many times? Yes.
When I called him up, I had him on speakerphone. My fiance was standing right there. I did not curse at him. I did not yell at him. I said, what's wrong with the quad so we can resolve this out of court? He said the handlebars and the throttle and the light in the front of the quad was damaged. That was all. I was like, Jonathan, thanks for being honest with me. And I was very polite, and we were on the phone for a half an hour talking. And I was like, listen, when your father gets an estimate for your quad, we can deduct it off of each other's estimates. And I was like, just let your father know that, and that was it. And we hung up.
How many times did you call him?
Just once, Your Honor. And then that Thursday, I called the father, also on speakerphone. She was right there.
Okay,
He said
so
everything was wrong with the quad.
Just a second. This was all about this lawsuit. All right, it's not harassment. What else?
came into my office at work the following day, walked into my office, threw papers down, told me that if I wasn't willing to pay for the damage on his car, he was going to have my son arrested.
That's not harassment.
As he walked out, he had a soda can in his hand. He threw it at my front window.
Nasty. He's got a temper. You gotta maintain your temper, so you're gonna be a father. If you need anger management, if you need medication, go and get it.
No, I don't.
What do you mean you don't?
Because his sons are animals. I'm to go over his house.
Listen to me, sir.
Excuse me?
Listen to me, sir.
Right.
Your girlfriend says you have a temper.
That's true, in some way.
No. If you have a temper, it's not in some way, because you had a temper with regard to your girlfriend, which is why you were asked to leave their home. Now, if you can't control yourself with your girlfriend in front of strangers, I have a concern that when you're alone with her, you find it very difficult to control your temper if you get angry.
I just start yelling.
Yelling with a person of your size and girth can be very frightening. But you certainly did more than yelling to him. You put your hands on him. You cannot do that. And I'm going to tell you something. Temper has the ability to escalate. So I would take care of it while you're still young enough and while you still don't have a baby yet. Babies don't like to be yelled at. And they don't like to have somebody's hands put on them in anger. So I would take care of that problem. If you believe that you may have a problem, I take care of it now. You owe $1,005.15 to fix your temper. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may stay.
Suing the wife of her ex-boyfriend, 33-year-old medical clerk Tashawn Stubbs, for breaking her living room window, slashing her tires, and writing graffiti on her garage door. Tashawn is countersuing for harassment.
Order. All rise. Yes, it's case number 101 on the calendar in the matter of Walker versus Stubbs. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ladies, have seats, please.
I see a whole bunch of ladies here, but no men. Where is he?
I tried to talk him into coming, but he was too embarrassed to be on TV with this matter. Yes.
Shh. They cause the trouble.
Mm-hmm. This is true.
And they just drop it and walk away. So, ladies, let's us have a little talk.
Yes.
You want me to leave?
No, you can stay, Bert. You're close enough. You were seeing the defendant's husband.
Right. Yes.
And you claimed at the time you started to see him, you didn't know he was married. You
Exactly.
found out he was married. Your claim is that even when you broke up with him, or he broke up with you, whatever it was, that his wife, the defendant, vandalized your property, caused you great stress, was harassing you. She says that it's actually you who were doing the stalking, the harassing, the interfering with her family. So I have a claim and a counterclaim, each in the same amount of money, $1,000, right?
Right.
And somebody has a protective order. Who has a protective order?
I do.
I'd just like to take a look at that document, please. When did you start to see her husband?
Say 96, September of 96,
And how long did you see him?
for approximately a year.
And you haven't seen him since 1997?
Well, actually, I haven't seen him since like 99. Actually, I've seen him, but not as a relationship. I've seen him. For as him fixing my car, he has a shop. He's a mechanic.
But since 1999, you haven't had a romantic relationship with him?
No.
You telling me the truth?
Yes, I mean, I'm married and everything. I've gotten married and everything, so.
It's over.
Been over.
All right. You have any information?
Yes.
They've been seeing each other since?
She was just trying to convince me that she was still dating him just last month.
How was that?
She was calling my cell phone, and I have my cell phone bill. When she was in the hospital and she was so sick, but she had enough time to call me continuously.
Did you call her for any reason?
Well, actually, she called me, and she came to my house and left a letter at my house on the 12th of April. This is how this whole thing started. She came to my house, left this letter right here, which is the same date that she broke the window, which is the pictures right here.
Just a second, just a second. Did you send this letter?
I did.
Could we talk for a minute?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Like grown-up gals. You have a husband?
Mm-hmm.
He's your problem.
Mm-hmm.
You want to have anything to do with her husband?
No.
You believe that?
Well, I believe it now.
Do you have children?
No, I don't. I have custody of my niece, though.
How old is she?
9 years old.
How long have you had custody of her?
Well, like the last 6 years. She's been with me for about 6 years.
And you have a husband?
Yes.
How long are you married?
Since August 26th of 2000.
Is he a nice man?
Very.
What kind of work does he do?
In the oil refinery, the oil field.
And do you work?
No, I don't.
So you stay home and take care of your niece?
Exactly.
Any reason you want to have grief with this lady?
Well, no, I don't have a problem with her.
How old are you?
32.
Any reason why you should want to have grief with this lady? Or grief in your life?
No, but what I'm saying is,
The answer
can I
is no.
explain myself?
The answer is no.
Okay.
Right? You don't want to have any grief in your life, right?
No, I don't.
You have children?
Yes, I do.
How long have you been married?
I've been married 6 years.
Does your husband work?
Yes, he does.
What kind of work does he do?
He's a mechanic.
You have to find someplace else, by the way, to have your car fixed. I know you haven't been back there in a while. Find someplace else. There are lots of mechanics.
No problem, you're right.
Because that just starts trouble. You know what I mean?
Yes.
You don't want to have any further dealings with her, do you?
Never did.
So why don't we come together, ladies, and come to terms with the fact that all of this trouble started because a guy was cheating on his wife, using 2 women at the same time. Because he didn't tell you he was married, right?
No, he didn't.
That's what you told me. And I'm sure he didn't tell you he was fooling around.
Can I say something?
Yes.
When he was cheating with her and she found out he was married, she thought she should help him to destroy his marriage, and she started calling my job to tell me what color underwear my husband has on as if I didn't wash them.
Just a minute. Let me tell you something. He was the user.
Mm-hmm.
Because if he conned her into thinking he was available, he allowed her emotions to run full circle. And all of a sudden, she finds out he's married. It's much easier to take things out on each other than it is to take things out on the person who's responsible, and that's the guy who was afraid to come to court today, right?
Right.
Why should you 2 ladies be dumb enough to suffer for what he did, which is really what you've been doing to each other? Both of you have been doing it to each other.
Mm-hmm.
Both of you. And that's ridiculous. He caused the trouble. You know, he makes a mess and he walks away, leaving 2 ladies to fight over him, and he's probably enjoying it, and he's probably not worth it. Very few of them are.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Natalie Walker says her ex-boyfriend's wife, Deshaun Stubbs, broke her living room window with a bottle of Snapple. Natalie also claims Deshaun slashed her tires and wrote defamatory statements on her garage door.
Yeah, what do you want? Tell me.
Yes, I would like to just say, that's really not the problem, wanting him or nothing, or bothering her or nothing like this. My problem is, this Easter I was in the hospital, and she came up to the hospital 2 days in a row, you know, to confront me and fight me. We had a fight. I have to report everything at the hospital. This is the problem I'm having with her coming to where I am, you know what I'm saying, as a patient in a hospital and create problems for me.
I read that, and I read that you went to the hospital twice. She was in the hospital.
She was. And I did not assault her, and if I did, I would have been arrested.
Why did you go to the hospital?
She asked me to, and here's my phone bill to prove it. She was calling me, and she was so sick, but yet she wasn't too sick to call me on 439, 442, 518, 519.
Why, just a minute, why did you call her house?
No, her cell phone after she called me. I never called her house. No, I didn't.
Why did you call her cell phone?
Because she had previously called me, and I star 69'd her back. That's how I called her back.
What did you say when you got her on the phone?
I called her and I asked her, I said, Why would you call me every year on my birthday like this to create a problem for me? I told you I wasn't messing with your husband. We were just arguing like that over the phone.
Tell me what else was said.
Then she hung up, and then she called me back, and she was like, well, I don't want to cuss. Well, like she said, like I told you, I'm going to make sure you don't mess with my husband, and this is what I'm going to do to you. I'm going to come. I know where you at. You know I can find where you are.
How many times did you call her on her cell phone that day?
Twice.
What'd you call her the second time for?
Well, because she hung up. She hung up in my face while we were arguing after she said something.
So what'd you call her back for?
To make my point.
So what was your point that you made to her?
That I wasn't messing with her husband, and I'm very tired of her coming around every so often.
You told her that already?
That was the point I was steadily making.
So then she comes up to the hospital?
Yes.
And she came up to the hospital twice?
Yes,
to
2
see
days.
you. And the second time you had her arrested?
No.
Well, no, both, they just wrote it out. They didn't arrest her neither time. They escorted her out one night, and then the other night, it's all in this report. What
Fine.
happened. So if you would like to see it.
No. The second time she came up, she also says it was a mistake. It was the mistake to go to the hospital to see her the first time, right?
It was a mistake.
And it was a mistake to go to see her the second time.
It was a mistake. She baited me there.
I don't care whether she baited you there. Come on. It was a mistake.
It was a mistake.
You got how many children?
I have 3 stepkids and a child me and my husband have together, but we take care of all 4 kids.
So you have 4 children to take care of. You got better things to do than to go to the hospital to visit somebody that you can't stand. Look, as a result of that, there's an order of protection against you.
I filed one against her as well.
But I don't have it.
Well, that's because I just filed today.
Well, but you filed today. No, listen to me.
She
has one against you. The order of protection. You have to stay 100 yards, 100 feet, 100 miles away from her. You're not supposed to go near her at all.
Which was violated yesterday.
I did not come within no 100 yards of you.
Yesterday, she brought 2 of her friends to my house. They were at my house when I got home. And I was going home to take these pictures to bring to you of my window, so I had a camera with me.
Let me see the window pictures.
And so what I did was, while they tried to run off while I was calling the police, I took a picture of them leaving down the alley because I had the camera. And I got an incident report number that they took yesterday.
That would not be a picture of me,
Can you give her that? Because this is the report
And it's not
number.
a picture of me. And I also have a picture of her
window. Because
window.
you was in the car, that's why.
Yeah, but I wasn't.
You have a picture of a broken window here. When was your window broken?
On the 12th of April. The same time she dropped the letter off.
Okay. Did you see her break the window?
Yes, I was there because I have bars all around, and I have a bar door. I can open my door without going out and see her and everything, the way my house is.
How did she break the window?
With a Snapple bottle, Snapple juice bottle. She threw it as she was leaving or whatever. She threw it into the window.
After she put the note in your mailbox?
Yeah, she came in the yard, put the note, banged on the door, of course. I yelled to her that I wasn't going to come out, be trying to fight with her. And she said what she had to say, cussed and did what she had to do, got in her car and pulled to the side, because you see my gate right there next to the alley, and just threw it. That's that side window by the alley right there.
You have a bill for the window?
Yes. Well, I have an estimate. Yes, I do.
I'd like to see an estimate for the window.
This for the window and the actual tires that she put on the flat.
You'll tell me about that in a minute.
Tell you about that?
In a minute.
Oh,
I want to see the estimate from... Right. Now tell me about the tires.
Okay, here's the picture, the estimate, and everything about that. Wow, this was like right after Valentine's, right?
What year?
This year. She came over once again, banging on the door, yelling, talking about come outside, what she would do to me. I tells her once again I'm not coming outside, so she takes a knife. This car was right here in front of the house, and just stabbed the tires.
You have a police report on that?
Well, actually, this right here, on the 12th, I just made a report. It's just an incident report. I don't have like this right here. This was from '99 when she ran into my garage.
I don't want to see that.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
God.
I also want you to see this, Judge Judy.
She is lying.
See what?
This is just a report from the hospital and from my niece who was actually there.
Let me see.
When we, I want you to see
When
that.
I beat her up.
There you go.
What you got?
What kind of conversation did you have in the hospital? First time she came.
On Saturday, when she approached me, it was at the nurse station, she said, I want to know what my husband brought you for your birthday, if you got anything. And I'm like, what? How you gonna come to the hospital and ask me about what your husband got me for my birthday? And so she started cussing. She said, because that's my husband, and I told you to stop messing with my husband, and we got to verbally arguing, and she swung and hit me. This is how my IV came out that particular day, because I had to have surgery to put another one in. And 2 nurses came, the security came. My niece was standing right there with me because I was walking her to the elevator to leave. That's why I was out of my room, period. And they just broke it up. They detained me, put me into the supervisor's room or something, and they just escorted her out. Then
after that incident, I'll get to you in a minute.
Okay.
After that incident, did you call her again that night on her cell phone? Did you call her again?
No, I don't believe I called her that night after that.
You don't remember whether
No,
you
I
called her
honestly
that
don't
night?
think that I called her that night. No, I don't.
Okay, what time of the day did she leave the hospital?
That night, this happened about 9:30 at night.
At night?
Yeah.
Okay, do you have any phone record after 9 o'clock at night?
I
Did
wasn't
she
there
call
at
you?
9.
What time were you there?
It was like 8 o'clock, 7 or 8. It was before
7, 8,
visiting hours
9.
are
Do
over.
you have any
After
phone
visiting
record
hours.
after that she called you?
Actually, Your Honor, I turned my phone off and she just left me.
The answer is either yes or
Okay,
no.
no.
Okay.
I don't have it
Fine.
here.
Fine. Now, the next day she came back. Is that right?
About 10 o'clock Easter morning.
What happened when she came back at 10 o'clock in the morning?
I was at the nurse station, and she approached me and the nurse. The nurse was right there, and she verbally threatened me again. And
What did
said,
she
when
say?
She said, I'm gonna find you anywhere you at, and when you get out, I'm gonna kick your still. And that's when the nurse immediately called security, so it wasn't no fight or nothing Sunday, nothing happened. It was just verbal things, and
Okay,
they put her out.
Stop. Between 8 o'clock Saturday evening and 10 o'clock Easter morning, do you have any record of the plaintiff making a telephone call to you?
Yes, I do.
What time?
She called me at 2:27 p.m. and she also called me...
No.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You didn't understand my
I
question.
didn't. Let me hear it once more.
Then I want you to pay attention.
Okay.
From 8 o'clock Saturday night until 10 a.m. Easter morning, do you have any record that the plaintiff called you?
Yes.
What time?
10:28 a.m.
No.
Oh.
Before 10 o'clock.
Oh, before. She called me at before 10 o'clock. Not before 10, no.
Then she didn't call you to come back to the hospital. You say in your answer that she called you to come back to the hospital, Miss Stubbs.
I'm just confused, Your Honor. She called me...
Stop being confused.
She called me on the 14th.
I'm already past the 14th. You left the hospital. You were escorted out of the hospital.
Well, then
You
she
left-
called me all the next day.
I want you to pay careful attention to me, madam. You're escorted out of the hospital Saturday night. You come back to the hospital Easter morning. That's clear from the report.
Okay.
And what I asked you is, why
My
did you
phone
come
was
back?
off.
Your phone was off,
Yes.
so she did not call you.
She did. She left me messages. She left me messages all morning. She called me. Yes, she did.
Oh, well, I don't have those messages.
That's
You have-
because my phone was off.
You have those messages written down?
No, I
You have more-
erased them.
Oh, well, that's too bad. Then I don't believe you.
Your Honor, her number's all on here. She called me.
You understand what I'm saying to you?
She did call me to come back.
No. No. And if she did and you went, you shouldn't have. All right, let's hear your counterclaim. 1, 2, 3, mental anguish.
Your Honor, I have my doctor's statements.
I don't read doctor's statements.
Okay, well, she used to call my job with her sexual harassment, you know, and I would have to leave my job at times. If she had a date with my husband, you know, being the other woman, she would call me, you know, and rub my nose in
We're
it
talking
at work.
about 2 years ago.
No, we are talking about recent. She's trying to convince me, and she was trying to convince me when she was in the hospital that she was still seeing my husband. She was saying that he is doing all kind of sexual things to her, and that is what she was trying to convince me while she was in the hospital.
Let me tell you something, Miss Stubbs. When you write a letter to her that says, this time of year I usually have problems out of you by now, could this be that I'm finally rid of you? That you wrote to her on 4/12/01.
Yes.
Which suggests to me that for a long period of time, you had not heard from her. You hadn't heard from her for a long time. What'd you start up with her again for? Because you had no reason to start up with her. And then you write something else. I bet you didn't get any something for your birthday. This time, did you? So you were giving her a little bit of a dig that she didn't have your husband for her birthday this time. You're a troublemaker. Get over it. Your counterclaim's dismissed. I believe that she slashed your tires. I believe that she broke your window. And I believe she came to the hospital to harass you. You're suing her for $1,000, and I'm going to grant you judgment for $1,000. But I'm telling you this, I tried to start out this case very clearly by saying, ladies, if you allow a man to make a fool out of you, you're a bigger fool. And if you allow your husband to make a big fool out of you, then that's what you are, a big fool. Get over it. She doesn't want anything to do with him anymore. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,000. That's all.
Thank you, Judge Judy.
Parties are excused.
Mortgage consultant Victoria Lee is suing her friend's ex-boyfriend, 33-year-old computer program manager Kiet Kurniawan, for damaging her home when he tried lighting a fireplace with kerosene.
Order. All rise. Yeah, this is case number 215 on the calendar in the matter of Lee versus Kurniawan. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats.
Miss Lee, according to your complaint, the defendant was living in your home. You were living there with a friend of yours, and he was the friend's boyfriend. Is that right?
Yes.
And you claim that he started a fire in your home, caused substantial amount of damage. You want him to pay for all of the damage. The defendant's answer indicates that, well, it was an accident. And two, he fixed a lot of the damage, and there should not be anything that requires any professional attention. Is that right, sir?
That's right.
Okay. When did this happen?
Well, it took place around February of 2000. It was close to midnight, where he had apparently started the fire by himself. And somehow he had used kerosene, and it got out of hand. He left a trail of kerosene from the front door to the fireplace. So when he started to light the fire, it trailed back, of course, to the front door on the hardwood floor as well.
You have pictures of the damage?
Yes, I do.
Were you in the house at the time?
Yes, I was.
The fire was extinguished so that nobody was hurt?
Correct.
Fortunately.
Fortunately,
okay.
Yes.
What's this dollar bill doing on your floor?
Oh, I had a friend took that, and he just put the dollar bill there just to focus in on the area.
I see. I assume that's the ceiling, smoke on the ceiling?
Correct.
Okay. Why did you light a fire with kerosene?
Well,
Oh, no, well, over here.
Okay.
Well is not an answer.
that's actually the part that is not true. I didn't try to lit up the fireplace with the kerosene.
How did you light the fire?
Well, okay, the truth is that I think it's about on June last year, and it's not on February.
You needed a fire in June?
Yeah.
Was it very cold?
June 31st, yeah.
It was very cold. Where do you live?
In Seattle.
Even in Seattle, it's cold enough in the summertime that you have to light a fire?
Yeah, sometimes. Sometimes it can get really cold, yeah. And I noticed at that time also it was raining outside.
What time of the day or evening did you light this fire?
Well, that's the thing that I'm not quite sure also. I have already totally forgot about this whole incident.
How many fires have you lit in your life that caused damage?
Yeah, that's...
How many is my question.
This is the first time.
Then I would remember it. Do you understand? You almost burned the house down.
Yes.
How did it happen?
Okay, I
Do
have
you
a
remember
drink.
how it happened,
Yes,
sir?
I remember.
You remember clearly how it happened?
Yes.
Go ahead.
So at that time that it was late at night, and then I was setting up the fireplace, and then after that I go make myself a drink.
What time were you setting up the fireplace?
It's probably around 10 o'clock.
Didn't you have to get up early in the morning?
Yes, I do. Because that I thinking I was just going to set up the fireplace for about an hour, and then after that I will
No, slowly, sir.
extinguish it.
You thought you were setting up the fireplace and what?
For about only an hour.
Fires don't last for only an hour.
Yeah, but I decided that later on I will just extinguish it myself and then go to bed because I have to work in the morning.
How'd the fire start?
Okay, like I said, that when I get up and then try to make a drink, I have this vodka on my hand, and then I lit up the fire I didn't use any kerosene or anything. It was a dry wood, so it just started up the fire right away. And then approximately after about 15 minutes or so, I decided I need to go to the restroom. So I go to the fireplace, then put more wood into the fireplace. And then at that time, I put the glass with the vodka in front of the fireplace. And then I just totally forgot because that is
Had a little
dangerous.
too much vodka.
Yeah. Unfortunately, yes.
Had a little too much vodka.
Yes.
There you go. I knew we were going to find the answer, sir, if we just kept going. So it wasn't an accident. It wasn't on purpose. It was caused by you having a little too much Stoli or whatever you were drinking.
That's right.
Right? Mm-hmm. So you have to take care of the damage. Now, what did you do to take care of the damage?
Well, the next morning that I told...
Fire department came?
No, it didn't. Even though the fire alarm went off because of that.
No firemen came?
No. Your Honor, my son, the fireplace was about 10 feet away from his front bedroom door. And when he heard the alarm went off, he quickly went out. He went to the front yard, took the hose, and came in and hosed it down and extinguished it.
There was damage. Damage to floors, damage to the door, damage to walls, soot. What did you do to fix all that?
Well, I told my ex-girlfriend that I feel responsible for setting up the fire, causing the fire.
Of course.
Yeah.
You are responsible.
And then I feel bad about it, and then I'm going to fix it. So the next morning, I didn't go to work, and then I start from the painting the front door because it got the smoke stain on that front door. And also after that, I also fixed the hardwood floor just by sanding it, and then.
Did you buy a sander?
No, just like the sandpaper.
That's not the way you fix a floor, sir. You don't take a little piece of sandpaper and just go over areas. You got to do the whole floor.
Yeah. That's the thing is that because I noticed that only like there's like a small black stain on that hardwood floor caused by that fire.
So you just took a little piece of sandpaper and went over it. Mm-hmm. What else did you do?
And I also paint the ceiling, not the ceiling, but the wallpaper.
You painted over her wallpaper.
Mm-hmm. Only on the portion that got the smoke.
You're not a decorator, are you, by profession? Huh?
No.
I didn't think so. So that's what you did. You painted over the wallpaper. You took a little piece of sandpaper and you went over the floor in certain spots, mm-hmm. right?
Yeah.
And you painted over the front door. Now, before you painted over the front door, what did you do to get off the soot and the smoke and where it had been charred? Did you sand it down? Did you remove all the paint?
No, I didn't.
You just smeared a coat of paint over it.
That's right. I'm not a handyman, so.
When you cause damage to somebody else's property, sir, you may not be a handyman, but if you cause the damage, then you're supposed to get a professional to take care of it. You're not supposed to do it yourself. Let me see estimates of your damage. Do you have homeowner's insurance?
Well, Your Honor...
Well is not an answer. My question is, did you have homeowner's insurance? Why not?
At the time, I was changing insurance companies, and the 2 weeks had lapsed, and this incident took place during that 2 weeks.
Is this your own home?
Yes.
I want to see proof that you didn't have insurance. I want to see proof of that, because you're not going to collect twice. Do we understand each other?
Yes.
I'm really smart.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Victoria Lee says her friend's ex-boyfriend, Kiet Kurniawan, damaged her home when he started a fire with kerosene. Kiet says the damage occurred because he left his vodka next to the fireplace.
Now, we're going to bring me something from your insurance company indicating a lapse in coverage at a particular time. Do you have that information?
Yes, Your Honor. I managed to get a letter from the insurance company, as well as a copy of my current insurance, which will show that I started a new insurance as of July 13th, 2000.
And that's in Seattle, Washington?
Yes.
When did you purchase the home?
January of 2000.
How much did you purchase it for?
$240.
You have a mortgage?
Yes, I do.
What's the mortgage?
$189.
If you have a mortgage, you have to have insurance.
Yes.
The lender requires that you have insurance, and if you don't have insurance, they get insurance for you. So if you had to show proof at the closing that you had insurance, everybody knows that. What kind of business are you in?
I'm a mortgage consultant.
You got it. Do we understand each other?
Yes, Your Honor. But my home had closed in January, beginning of January, and then I had wanted to switch insurance company after it had closed. And I was hoping that the lender would not find out, which they didn't. So I did go ahead and get insurance with a different company as of July the 13th.
So what you're telling me is you fraudulently misrepresented to your lender that your premises was insured. Is that right?
No, it was insured at the time of the closing, Your Honor.
Well, at the time of the closing in January, if it was insured in January, it would have been insured in February, when you say the fire took place.
I wanted to change insurance company, so I had canceled it.
Well, that's not his problem. He had an accident in your house. If you had insurance, which you should have had, then you would have been totally covered. Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Case is dismissed.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I fixed it. And I actually told my ex-girlfriend that I will fix it.
Don't yell at your insurance lap.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Brewer versus Oldham, step forward, please.
38-year-old woodworker Karen Brewer is suing 28-year-old grocery manager Johnny Oldham for reward money that was promised for finding his toy poodle.
Miss Brewer, according to your complaint, you found a dog that turned out to be the defendant's dog. The dog was returned to the defendant, and you believe that there had been a reward for the dog, $500, I believe. You want the reward money.
Yes, ma'am.
When did you find this dog?
My daughter and I was coming back from Little Rock, and we found it on June the 24th. It was dodging cars across the interstate, and we saw it, and we stopped, and we picked it up, and we had called the number that was on the tag, which was his phone number and the veterinarian's number. Was unable to reach anybody, so the following day...
What day of the week was the 24th of June?
It was on Sunday.
Okay, go ahead.
On the 25th, I had called the vet and reported that I found the dog and where, and left my name and phone number with them.
Did you speak to a person or an answering machine?
I spoke to the person.
Okay.
Later Monday night, the dog was having seizures. So I called the vet the following next day to see if they were able to locate him, and they still didn't. And I had continued to keep calling his home because they gave me his name and his address and everything.
Did you do anything for the dog when the dog was having seizures?
I just did what the veterinarian said, just stay with them and talk to them and just be there with them.
What kind of dog was it?
It's a poodle.
You have any animals of your own?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
What kind of animals?
I have Chihuahuas and a Basset Hound.
So you have small ones and then one short one, but long.
Short and
long.
long.
Heavy.
Big ears.
Big ears. Go ahead.
I continued to keep calling all week, and we finally got a hold of him on Friday, or to his wife.
Almost a week later.
Yes,
Found the dog on a Sunday. The following Friday, you
Yes,
got
ma'am.
in touch with him. Okay, you spoke to his wife.
I had spoken to his wife, told her my name and phone number, and that I had found the dog and where, gave her my address for them to come pick it up. And she had told me about a reward money.
Where's your wife?
She's at home with our children.
Go ahead.
I didn't even know anything about the reward money. His wife had told me, and she said that they have not told their kids because they didn't know what to say to their kids.
Did she say she was paying the reward money?
No, ma'am. She said that a kennel was.
So who came to pick up the dog?
He did about an hour later.
And you gave him the dog?
I gave him the dog.
Did you have a discussion with him about this reward money?
He told me that he had talked to the kennel, and the reward money still stood since I had found the dog, and he's going to make sure I got the reward money.
That's
So
what he said to you?
That's not what
Shh, just a second. That's what he said to you?
That's exactly what he said in front of my daughter and my son and nephews.
Okay. And you never got the reward money?
No, ma'am. He went and picked it up.
Okay. Now, Mr. Oldham.
Yes, ma'am.
I gather that you were on vacation, which is why the dog was kennelled, according to what I read in your papers.
Yes, it was.
When did you go on vacation?
I left on a Saturday afternoon.
And how long were you and your family away?
Till Thursday afternoon.
No, ma'am.
I'm sorry, we got back on a Friday. I apologize.
Good. Now, during the time you were away on vacation, you had no idea that this dog that you had put in a kennel,
No.
right? Let me finish my question, then you can say no. While you were away for that week, you had no information that your dog that you had placed in a kennel had somehow gotten loose, escaped, been lost. Is that right?
That's right.
So you get home Friday, and you get a call from the plaintiff.
Yes, ma'am.
Who told you she had your dog.
Yes, ma'am.
And you went and got your dog.
That's not exactly how the events took place.
Well, tell me how they took place.
Okay, we got back home that afternoon, and my mother-in-law called me, first of all, and told me that a dog had been stolen from the kennels. She said she didn't call us when we were on vacation because she didn't want us to bother us while we were on vacation. There was nothing we could have done anyway.
Good idea. See how smart your mother-in-law is?
Very smart. Very smart. So we directly after that, we called the kennels, and my wife talked to her, and my wife lost it. She was bawling, and I got on the phone and I told her, I said, how can you tell me that my dog was stolen and it was the only dog stolen? She said, well, it was, and I told her I was to be right there. I went down there to talk to her person to person.
Now, the kennel and your vet are two different people, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, go ahead. So you went down, you spoke to the kennel people. What happened next?
Well, she called 5 minutes after I got off the phone.
Fine, so that's what I said before. She called you.
She called me 5 minutes after I got off the phone with the kennels.
Did you ever call your vet?
Yes.
Pay careful attention to what I'm asking you. When you called your vet, did your vet advise you that they had received a telephone call days before from the plaintiff?
No.
Did you ask them?
Yes.
And what did they say?
They said they received a telephone call from her asking about our dog.
Well, that's what I'm asking you, sir. I'm not playing with you.
I'm sorry.
They received a telephone call from the plaintiff days before.
Yes, ma'am.
Saying, I found this dog. Here is the tag number.
No, ma'am. They called. She said that the information that they asked was they wanted to know about the dog. They wanted to know information about my dog. They did not tell her that they'd found my dog. They said they wanted to know information about my dog because it had seizures.
Oh, I don't think that that's true, Mr. Oldman. I think you're making that up, sir.
I've got a letter from the veterinarian.
I don't think that that's true, sir. Mr. Oldham.
I've got a letter from the veterinarian also.
Yeah, I'd like to see both letters.
It's just showing my dog.
Shh. All right. This is a letter dated July 27th. Just save me a phone call because I'm not stupid. This is what he's going to tell me if I call. I had a phone conversation about a month ago with a lady who had found a poodle on Interstate 30. She was attempting to find the owner of the dog and reported that the dog had seizures. The dog had been vaccinated at our clinic, and she had obtained the name and phone number of the owner and stated that she attempted to contact him. This is from your vet.
Okay. Right. Yes, ma'am.
Ah. Now, did the kennel pay you any money?
Yes, ma'am, she did.
How much money did the kennel pay you?
She gave me $500 for her irresponsibility and compensation.
Baloney! I absolutely believe the plaintiff when she said to me that she was told there was a reward. Not a reward that you were going to pay for the dog, but a reward that the kennel was offering for the dog.
No, ma'am. I mean,
no, ma'am.
I went up there to get my dog from the kennels.
Yeah.
After I got it, it was infested with fleas. I took it to the kennels and I said, would you please dip it? It's infested with fleas. The conversation we had between her was that we believed that she had something to do with the stealing of my dog.
I want to tell you something, Mr. Oldham. There is something wrong with your mind. Why would somebody who stole your dog call the vet, report that she had found this dog, say, I don't understand that the dog has seizures. Could you help me out? I don't know what to do with the dog has seizures. Then pick up the phone and try to call you. Now, there's no question she had been trying to call you continuously because she called you on the day you returned from vacation. You think that that was just an act of God that she called you just on that day? She had been calling you continuously all week. What you did was the wrong thing. You should have paid her yourself for finding your dog. Instead, the kennel, who was responsible for lax security, offered a reward. She found the dog. She wasn't even looking for the reward. She wasn't. She was promised the reward because she was told that there was a reward. And then you went, picked up the money, and kept it. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $500.
He's on Lomborg versus Romano. Step forward, please.
33-year-old Lauren Lomborg is claiming her former lover and business partner, Charles Romano, assaulted her. She also says he owes her money for bailing him out of jail and for a computer.
Order. All rise. Judges number 61 on the calendar in the matter of Lomborg versus Romano. Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated. Have a seat, sir.
I've read your papers and I'm trying to decipher them. A little complicated. What I gather, Miss Lomborg, is that you were both in a romantic and business relationship with the defendant.
That's correct.
How long was the romantic relationship?
We started dating in February of '95, and
when did you go into business together?
June 30th, July 1st of '95.
And that was a pool business?
Correct.
Yes, ma'am.
According to your complaint, sometime in '95, the defendant was using your van.
Right.
Stopped for speeding. He had some outstanding warrants from tickets. And you bailed him out.
Right.
How much did you pay for the bail?
For that one in July, it was $2,050.70.
All right, let's take that one first, sir. Tell me about that incident with the van.
I got pulled over. It was towed due to lack, no license.
No, you had no license.
Correct, I had no license. Okay. I don't think I was arrested that day. I'm not sure. They did tail the van. We got it back. But as I was taking care of tickets, since I had a lot of failure to appears, and these tickets were 5 years old, they decided they wanted to hold on to me when I went in to take care of them. And that's when the bail was, that's when she would bail me out.
Bailed you out and paid the tickets?
Right.
Did you pay her back?
Of course. Yes, ma'am.
Let me see.
Okay, well, through our business relationship, Mrs. Longmore ran the business and was paying herself back for many other things, but also the tickets. I do have the business books here, which is in her writing.
Your Honor,
just a minute. You say she was paying herself back through writing checks.
To herself, correct. Marked loan payment.
Is that correct?
This was a personal loan guaranteed by him to pay me back from his personal funds, not through the business.
Well, did you take any money out of the business other than your salary?
I have not taken a penny out of the business for a salary. I loaned the business initially $4,000 to buy the first route.
Is that true?
Yes, ma'am.
And $25,000 in January of '96 to buy a second route. The loan payments that are coming out of this checkbook for the business were for the purchase of prior pool businesses. Has nothing to do with his personal legal problems.
There came a point in time, I assume, when the two of you romantically separated, and I assume at that time...
There was some disagreements. He's a very hostile and angry person and very manipulative. He lived in my home with his children. In my home, I cared for them and paid for them, and I did many things for him. And he did some things for me, helped me take care of my daughter. And I had a zero tolerance for drug use, and he came home one time after he'd gotten stoned with his buddies, and I had packed up all his stuff to move him out, and when he came home, he just packed it, he just moved it right back in and said, never do that again. So that was October of '95. So I've been patiently trying to resolve these conflicts and working on it, and it's just been very difficult. He's very manipulative, and he knows my vulnerabilities, and he presses on them.
Were you paid back all of the money that you put into the business?
No, ma'am.
You told me it's about $29,000 that you put into the business.
Plus the van, right.
Plus the van.
Which he sold.
Did you sell the van?
Yeah, yeah. She signed the pink slip in a bill of sale. It was paid for. I didn't sell it. I traded it in. I bought a pool truck.
I changed the name after the assault where he beat me up.
When was that?
This particular assault was December 19th of '96.
Was he arrested for this assault on you?
He was, yes. And he made bail. And the person that bailed him out that time got paid back within 10 days.
What happened with that case?
He pled guilty on June 16th, and he got 1 year and 5 days suspended sentence, 3 years probation.
Is that correct, sir?
Here, if you want to know what I got, I'll give it to you right here.
I do know. I want to know if you pled guilty. You don't have to look in your papers for that.
I didn't assault her, first of all.
You didn't assault her?
No, ma'am, I didn't.
But you pled guilty to it?
Yeah. He beat me up 3 times within a 15-hour period. He made bail and went right to my apartment and beat me up again, and that's when he stole the van the first time.
That's incorrect. That's incorrect.
There's pictures and everything. It's
incorrect.
There's a huge case down there.
Mr. Romano.
Yes.
You pled guilty to the assault. Is that correct?
No, those charges I didn't. I don't know what I pled to. It wasn't those original charges. I was charged with assault with a deadly weapon, which I was.
What was the deadly weapon?
Supposed to be a bat.
A baseball bat.
My child's bat.
No, it's a Louisville Slugger.
Where did he hit you with it?
On the leg right here.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
You have to have witnesses in order to establish that to me.
Phone numbers. Give them a call.
You give him a call. That's not my job. My job is to hear this case, sir.
And later today...
Miss Marion, you can collect cans in the street and get $15 a week. You have to work and earn $15 a week because you have an obligation.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Former business partners and lovers, Lauren Lonborg and Charles Romano, are fighting over business debts, a computer, and bail money.
Miss Longborn, right now I have on your side $2,060.70. Now I'm going to hear about this cross-complaint. Mr. Romano, you are cross-complaining against her in the amount of $2,100 because you say she wrote letters to your accounts.
Yeah, she wrote
So let me hear about that.
She wrote a letter, pretty nasty letter.
I have the letter.
Yeah, I've got a copy also. Pretty nasty, stating a lot of falsehoods, making it look like I had beat her up, put her in the hospital for 10 days.
Well, let me take a look at it.
Mrs. Longborg had some stability problems early in our relationship.
Let me read the letter.
Yes, ma'am.
And then you'll come back.
Okay.
Well, you seem to, in a chronological order here, describe not only your business, but your personal relationship with the defendant.
Right.
Something, quite frankly, Ms. Longborn, I don't understand. I don't understand why you would have sent a letter talking about the fact that he beat you up, talking about the fact that you were hospitalized for 10 days.
Because I throw the hospitalization in because that's when a lot of everything happened.
Your daughter, who was 9 years old, died.
That's correct. And I was a wreck. And that's when he took advantage of me.
That is not true. Mrs. Longborg stayed with me after her daughter passed on, and after she got out of the hospital for 2 weeks in March, from March 15 on, because she was getting kicked out of her apartment.
Well,
and
listen to me, it sounds to me as if she has had a very difficult time.
Yes, she has, definitely. And
I mean, you lose a child, that's the most difficult thing in the world.
This child was severely handicapped. She was a special child to me and my children. I love this little girl just as much as anybody. She was taken to my mother's daycare. I treated her just like she was one of my own. I mean, like Mrs.
That's all true, but it doesn't give him license to steal everything from me.
Why did you write this letter?
At the time, the DA had assured me that this was going to trial. This was the 5th trial date, and that Wes was looking. I didn't say he was going. I said it was told to me that he may be spending as much as up to 1 year in prison or in jail for these crimes. Wes was making arrangements with his buddies to take over the accounts, which these are incredible estates, and I would not trust his buddies.
Miss Longmore, there is something disingenuous about what you say to me. I'm going to tell you why, madam. Because if your concern was for the business, a very simple letter to the clients indicating that there may be an interruption in service. I cannot vouch for the personnel who are going to be dealing and servicing with the accounts, and since you've been dealing with me over the phone, I want to let you know I am no longer associated with the business and cannot personally vouch for the people who will be servicing your pool in the event that Mr. Romano is not with us for a year. You instead chose to, in a very systematic way, allow these strangers into your private life.
That was my choice.
Well, now, you have to establish to me, sir, that you had some loss as a result of that.
Well, I lost, it has changed. I lost one more customer as of this letter.
Well, you're going to have to establish to me that your loss of business was as a result of this letter.
Right here. Here's these people. As this gentleman was with me as we're on the route, people are coming out. Hey, what's this letter? Are you going to jail or not?
Now, listen to me, sir. You have to have witnesses in order to establish that to me.
This gentleman right here witnessed. They said, I don't want service anymore. I don't want to get in the middle of this. I'm sorry. Thank you for your service. Goodbye.
Now, listen to me. They have to come to court.
They don't want to get in the middle of it. They don't want to come to court.
Well, they may not want to get in the middle of it, but you've established one part of your claim. The second part of your claim is that as a result of that, you lost business.
Phone numbers. Give them a call.
You give them a call. That's not my job. My job is to hear this case, sir. Your job is to bring witnesses into a court so that I can question the people and make a determination as to their veracity and what motivated them and ask them the questions, not somebody who overheard them. That's why we do not allow hearsay in a court.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And later today,
she got a payment once every month. And if she didn't, she sure got on my case and got it somehow.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Former business partners and lovers, Lauren Lonborg and Charles Romano, are fighting over business debts, a computer, and bail money.
Unless the clients are here to tell me that they stopped using your services, sir, because of this letter, I am not entertaining your cross-complaint. I mean, I think that the letter was in terrible, was very poor taste, very bad judgment, and certainly unprofessional.
I felt no other alternative.
She's trying to slander my name for me to lose customers because she has nothing to lose. She is not part of the business. She is no longer part of the business as of December, and she's merely just trying to ruin my name.
How did you determine that?
Miss Longborg.
Sorry.
I'm not getting into whether you own any piece of this business or not. Certainly, if you owned a piece of the business and you wrote that letter, that would be dumber than dumb. Mr. Romano, I'm going to tell you right now, I do not believe, sir, that the plaintiff has been paid back all of the money that she loaned the business to start it. You can't even look me square in the eye and say she's been paid back all the money. But that is not the subject of this lawsuit, because that's far more than the jurisdiction of this court. I am entertaining your application for the money that he owes you as a result of the personal loan that you made to him for his bail and for the tickets, because I really don't believe that you have been paid back for that. So I'm awarding you a judgment in the amount of $2,060.70. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. I'll back up to your right, please.
I have zero tolerance. You knew that on the day one.
I smoke pot once in a while. Shoot me. You want to do it right now? Shoot me.
Am I done?
And now the next case.
All parties on Olson versus Marion. Step forward, please.
34-year-old Brenda Olson is suing her childhood friend, Nikki Marion, for not repaying a loan. Nikki says she doesn't have the money or a job.
According to your complaint, Miss Olson, the defendant was a childhood friend of yours. And there came a time when she needed some money and you lent her money.
Correct.
She refuses to pay you back. So tell me about the loan. When was it made? Why?
Well, she came to me. She was back payments on her house that she had just bought, and then her car had been breaking down and stuff. So she needed some money to repair her car and to catch up on her house payments so she wouldn't lose her house. So I borrowed her the money on one of my credit cards.
How much money?
At the time, it was about $3,098. As time went on, she paid, wrote checks to my credit card and everything was going good, and then she wrote some bad checks to them, and I got bad credit over the deal. So she written them an apology letter, which I brought with me, too. And she got my credit all good again, and then she started sending them money orders. And just recently, like about 4 or 5 months ago, she lost her job, and she told me that she just couldn't pay me anymore, and so I asked her to borrow the money from her parents because I couldn't afford to pay it all off either. And if I would have paid monthly, I would have been ending up paying more than I ever borrowed her. And she told me that she asked her parents, and her parents said no, and that she just wasn't going to pay me. So I told her I was going to take her to court. She said, well, get in line with everybody else that had judgments against me. So I felt hurt because I did it as a friendship thing and wasn't going to see my money.
How much money in total does she owe you now?
Now, with whole total, probably about $3,600.
Do you have proof of that?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to see the proof of that, please, and I would like to see the letter of apology that she sent to you. Thank you. Miss Marion, how come you borrowed this money from your friend? You did borrow it, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
Well, how come?
To have my car fixed and to make some payments on my house.
Wasn't there anyone else you could have asked for the money? Relative? Parents?
No.
Why?
My parents won't borrow me money.
Have you borrowed money from them before?
Years ago.
Did you pay them back?
No.
Is that one of the reasons why they won't lend you money again? Okay. So you went to your friend, and she lent you the money.
Correct.
So why don't you pay her back this money?
Well, first of all, I don't have a job, and I have no income.
Why not?
Because I was laid off of my job of 7 years.
When?
In November.
Let's talk about before November. You weren't paying her back before November.
That's not correct. Prior to November, I was paying her. I was giving her cash and money orders when I could.
When you could?
Well, she got a payment once every month. And if she didn't, she sure got on my case and got it somehow.
You seem to have a resentment when you say she got on my case.
Yeah, because this is I don't know, it's a rivalry for us. I mean,
Why?
Because it's back and forth. I've lent her money, she pays me, I've lent money, it's back and forth. It's been for years.
How much money did you lend to her?
Over the years, I don't have a true record of it. We've known each other since we were little kids.
I'm talking about big money, Miss Marion. I mean, did she ever borrow $1,000 from you?
No. I'd say in the hundreds.
Paid you right back, though.
And she paid you back?
Yes.
Well, that's the problem. What's your excuse? What's your defense to this case?
I don't have a job, and I can't pay her the $50 a month that she wants. And when I lost my job, I called her and asked her if I could pay her less than that, and her attitude was fine.
That's what the interest is on the credit
card. And then 2 weeks later, she calls me, and all of a sudden, I'm taking you to court, and blah, 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 blah. And I didn't ask to never pay her. I asked to pay her less until I got a job.
She has to pay these bills on her credit card because this money was borrowed on her credit card.
She chose to put it on her credit card. Thing is, I didn't go up to Brenda Olson and say, Brenda, please borrow me money. Brenda knew my situation. Brenda offered to borrow me the money. How she chose to get the money, how she chose to get the money was her choice. If she chose to put it on a 17% credit card, that's her choice. I didn't ask her to do that.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
How much are these monthly payments that you have to make?
At least $60 because $35 is interest alone. How are you ever going to get it down?
So you have to pay at least $60 a month. Most of it is interest, but some of it is principal.
Sure.
$60 a month. Now, I'm not really good at math, but that comes to a little less than $15 a week, right? $15 a week. Miss Marion, you can collect cans in the street and get $15 a week. So you can't tell me that you can't work and earn $15 a week. Doing something. Do you understand? You have to work and earn $15 a week because you have an obligation. And this lady doesn't look to me as if she's rolling in dough. Doesn't look to me as if she's living on a trust of $1 million. Do you work?
I clean houses on my hands and knees.
And how much do you get a day for that?
Well, usually about $35.
Very good. Why don't you do this? See if one of the people that you work for can give her a day's work.
Yeah.
She could just go to work one day, clean somebody's house, and, madam, you will have your monthly payment to her after 2 weeks.
Minus the $50 a day daycare, I'm negative $15.
Just a second. Let me ask you this question. Work out an arrangement with a friend of yours so that one day you watch your friend's child and one day they watch your child, and you go out and get a job, and if it's cleaning houses like the plaintiff does in order to get her money, that's what you do. We understand each other? Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,600. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Thank you.
Have the back door to your right, please.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
Jermaine versus Kaplan. Step forward, please.
Makeup artist Candace Germain is heartbroken over the killing of her beloved cat and wants her next-door neighbors, Toby and Mark Kaplan, to pay the veterinary bills. She blames their German Shepherd for her cat's death.
Order. All rise. Quiet in the court, please. All rise. Judges number 21 on the calendar in the matter of Germain versus Kaplan. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated.
How long have you folks been neighbors?
Almost a year.
According to your complaint, Ms. Germain, you were the owner of the cat. The defendants own a dog. What kind of dog do you have?
German Shepherd.
And unfortunately, you allege that their dog injured and your cat subsequently died as a result of those injuries.
Yes.
And you are seeking the vet bills that you incurred. Now, why don't you tell me how that happened?
I was in my backyard watering, and Toby came to my gate and called out my name and said, "Candace?" And I said, "Yes," and she was very calm about it. So I said, "Go to the front door," because my gate was locked. So on my way to the front door, I stopped, I got a glass of water. I took my time because it didn't sound urgent. I got to my front door, I saw she was holding my cat, and I said, "Oh," I go, "my cat looks dead." I go, "But sometimes they look that way." Then I noticed her tongue was hanging out of her mouth, and I said, "Oh my God, what happened?" And she said, "Well, we had just gotten home with our family, and I let my dog in your yard, as I usually do, to go to the bathroom."
That's not true.
That is exactly what was said. And she said it took me no more than a few minutes to bring my baby carrier in the house. And then she said the dog came back with my cat in her mouth.
Where had your cat been?
The cat was in my yard at the very top of the back of the gate, which is like behind my house.
But in your yard?
Yeah, in my driveway.
So you took your cat, and what did you do with the cat?
Well, I took the cat, and I couldn't find my keys, so I insisted that she take me to a vet, because I didn't even know where a vet was. And
how long had you had the cat?
10 years.
What kind of cat was it?
A Himalayan.
What color? Blue Point, Teal Point? I know a little bit about cats.
I'm Blue Point.
I love their faces, don't you?
I know, they're a totally different kind of cat, if you know.
Yeah.
Like regular cats. My son had seen the cat up in the driveway 5 minutes prior to her coming to my fence with the cat.
Okay. So you took the cat to the vet, and what happened when you took the cat to the vet?
They said she had severe trauma, and that they did x-rays on her, and they said that she needed to stay overnight for care, that she wasn't well enough for me to take her home, but they didn't provide care there. So I had to take her to Studio City for overnight care. And they told me, just go ahead, pick up your cat at 8 a.m. She'll be, ready to go back to the vet. I called them right before I left my house, and it seemed everything was okay. When I got there, they said that she's gone the other direction. She'd never make it back. So they had me bring her next door for surgery.
You want to take a minute? 1 minute?
So I took her, or they transported her next door to the Studio City Animal Hospital. When they spoke with me, and they did not say that, she's not going to make it or anything. They just said that we can't, say either way. And I said to go ahead. And
what did they want to do?
They said she needed to do surgery because her lungs, she had a leak in her lungs, or air in her lungs, from the punctures.
So they did the surgery?
Yeah. Then they sent her back over to the overnight, and I kept checking on her. One time I checked on her, and they said she was stabilized, and then I checked on her again, and they said she wasn't doing well. And then at midnight, they called me, and they said, she's now probably has like a 5% chance of living. And she'd already been through a lot, so I just told them to let her go.
And what were the veterinary bills that you incurred?
I have them on here. $14.34. And that's just from Studio City Animal Hospital. The overnight care I paid cash. That was a couple $100. And then Sherman Oaks Veterinary, the first place I took her to, was a little over $300.
You have those bills?
Those are all the bills. That's the overnight. All right. This is the total for, and then here's Sherman Oaks Veterinary Group.
Thank you. I have $1,786. Does that sound right?
I don't know. I didn't add
between these two bills. Yeah. Okay.
There's three bills.
Who's going to speak? Mr. and Mrs. Kaplan?
I am.
Tell me what happened on that day.
We were at home. We had finished our dinner, and then we went out to get my daughter's booster seat out of my husband's car, and we brought the dog out with us. She comes out with us oftentimes and stays right near us, or she'll go piddle and come back.
But she was not on a leash.
She was not on a leash. So she walked out with us. We walked to the car, which was about 10 steps from our front door, opened the door, pulled out the booster. Mark went around to the trunk of his car to open up the trunk and looked on the sidewalk, and our dog had her cat by the scruff of the neck, walking gingerly towards us as if she had found something injured and brought it to us. And I even reached out and I pet the cat. Cat felt dry, bone dry, fine. didn't even have any indication that anything was wrong, looked up at me, and I thought, well, I don't know why she even brought it over. She's never done that. And we started to walk away. The cat got up and started to walk towards the house. And when she was walking, I thought she looked a little funny. So I thought, well, let me check and see. Maybe this is the way the cat is, or maybe there's a problem. So I picked up the cat, and she still hadn't said anything. We hadn't heard anything, seen anything. I picked her up, and I went to Candace's front door. I knocked. There was no answer. I heard watering in the backyard, so I went to the gate. I yelled out about 4 times to Candace before she answered, and I said, I think there's something wrong with your cat, but I'm not sure. Can you come to the front, come, let me in? And she said, the gate's locked. I'll go in the front door. I'll come out. She came to the door after just a couple of minutes, and she looked at the cat. She said, oh, my God, what's wrong with the cat? Is the cat dead? And I said, I don't know what's wrong with the cat. Gabby brought her to us, and I don't know what's wrong. And I tend to be a calm person by nature, so I wasn't melodramatic about it. And all of a sudden she said, oh, my God, her tongue's out. And then Candace started, oh, my God, is she dead? Is she going to go? And she just, with the tears and screaming and carrying on, and she was very upset, which I could understand. Being a pet owner, you get upset if there's something wrong with it. So I took Candace to the vets with her cat. And at that time, the vet had said it could be, it appears to be a puncture. She could have been hurt. It could have been from an animal, bite, whatever. But they didn't know, so they took her back to stabilize her. And it wasn't until the next day or the day after she came over with bills and handed them to Mark. And Mark said, well, what is this?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You know how long it takes to hang somebody?
Well, it takes a while.
Less than 2 minutes.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Candace Germain claims her neighbor's dog killed her cat and wants Topi and Mark Kaplan to pay all the vet bills.
Miss Germain, I have a few questions for you. I have to get the logistics. Was your cat within a confined area?
She was just on the, no, she wasn't. She was just on the other side of the fence.
And do your 2 properties abut each other?
Yes, our driveway's between the 2 yards.
So that your cat was outside of an enclosed area and your dog was
in my yard.
Outside of an enclosed
Was
area.
outside of an enclosed area.
Outside of an enclosed area.
Right.
That's
and
correct.
when we saw her, she was on the sidewalk in the front.
Her dog went into my yard.
But you
That's
didn't
what
see
you're
that.
saying.
There are many dogs in our front yard all the time.
Can I say that my cat, because she's an indoor cat and she'd accidentally gone out, never leaves that top of that driveway. She does not walk around the front of the yard because she's usually in the backyard.
You know what we're talking about, Ms. Germain? What we're really talking about is there is a certain responsibility that you have when you let a pet, whatever that pet is, outside without a leash, or a cat outside without being confined to an area. What I was trying to ascertain was whether there was any proof that their dog somehow got into your fenced property where this cat was.
No.
And there is none. So the next question is, did the dog actually do the damage to this cat? Now, I want you to describe to me how this German Shepherd came to you with this cat in his mouth.
Well, she was carrying the cat by the scruff of the neck like a female dog would carry its pups. And the cat was just sitting there. She wasn't trying to get away. She wasn't doing anything. She was just carrying.
She doesn't know any
There was
better.
no sound. There was no skirmish. There was no anything going on. And the dog walked right up to Mark, right up to him like, there's something wrong here.
Well, sometimes I have seen dogs, I don't know whether you have, come in with squirrels, come in with all kinds of little creatures outside to sort of bring a gift home to their owner. Look what I have for you. And they're not bringing that home to say, listen, this is an injured pet and I'm coming to you because I want you to fix it. They're coming to you and saying, I have a trophy to give you because I love you.
Wow.
That's what they're saying.
This would have been the first time she brought this trophy home.
But she's never.
Go ahead.
This would be the first trophy that she'd ever brought home in the 2 years that we've had her.
Has she ever brought home
No.
Has she ever brought home a
Nothing.
sick pet for you to help?
Nothing.
No.
So she has never brought home a sick pet for you to help, which is really what you are
She
suggesting.
also never carries anything ever in her mouth. She won't even fetch a ball. She won't do
But
anything.
she did this
Yes,
time.
she did.
She did this time.
Right.
And so your supposition that she was bringing you home a sick pet to show you that she had brought home an injured animal is merely supposition. I want to tell you right now that it strikes me more likely that, for whatever reason, she was bringing home a trophy to her owners. And unfortunately, the trophy
Well, it was
was
less
hers.
than a 2-minute period of
It
time,
doesn't-
though, that it was there,
Let me-
and the...
You know how long it takes to hang somebody?
Well, it takes a while.
Less than 2 minutes.
Judge Judy is ready to rule. And later today,
And actually, I feel sorry for her new boyfriend because she's probably going to ruin him like she has me. So.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Toby and Mark Kaplan say they shouldn't be held responsible for the death of Candace Germain's cat, that any dog in the neighborhood could have been responsible, not just their German Shepherd.
I'm not a German Shepherd psychiatrist, and I'm not a behavioral scientist, so I can't tell you what German Shepherds usually do. All I can tell you is you have a dog that you've just told me never did anything like this before.
Right.
But did it now.
It carried a cat to me, yes.
And so, based upon the proof that I have, which is she had a live cat with no problem, and your dog brought her cat, your big German Shepherd brought her little Himalayan cat in the mouth. The cat suffered trauma. Cat didn't survive. It appears to me that I am satisfied by the required quantum of proof in these proceedings, which doesn't have to be proof beyond a reasonable doubt. It has to be proof by what we call a preponderance of the evidence. You know, more evidence than not. Your dog caused these injuries, so you're responsible for these bills. I would also suggest to you that when you have a big dog, and now you have a big dog that for one reason or another brought you prey once, that you see to it that that dog is not let out without a leash, even for a minute, unless it's in your enclosed property. Because you never can tell a dog that is perfectly fine for years and years all of a sudden goes off like that. So I am satisfied that the injuries that were caused to her cat, which resulted in the cat's death and the subsequent medical bills that she is responsible for, were a result of what your dog did, and I'm awarding the plaintiff $1,786. Thank you, that's all.
Thank you. Excuse you may step out. I'll back to your right, please. Sure.
Thank you. We wanted to keep peace in the neighborhood and not have problems, and it hasn't been since this incident. In the rudeness towards us from them, the cold shoulders, which is understandable though, and then sprinklers shooting up over our cars that are on our yard that haven't been fixed, and loud music that vibrates our house and everything, and so, you know, they're just rude to us.
Parties on Bonnet versus Roberts. Step forward.
35-year-old engineer Ronald Bonnet is suing his ex-wife, Sandra Roberts, over a check that bounced.
Mr. Bonnet, the defendant has been served in this action and has not appeared, so I'm prepared to enter a default judgment in your favor, sir. But before I do, there are several questions that I have.
Yes, ma'am.
According to your complaint, the defendant, who is your ex-wife, borrowed money from you.
Well, actually wasn't borrowed. She asked for the checks, or she gave me checks because she needed the cash immediately. And her landlord...
First of all, why would you lend your ex-wife money in the first place?
Well, she was living with me.
Why?
Why? Well, she has a 2-year-old son who, well, actually 5 years old now. He's 2 years old when I first met him. He doesn't have a biological father of record. So he called me his father, and I'm very attached to the little boy. So I went and allowed her to come back and live with me for the little boy's sake, because she come back from wherever, Missouri, I believe it was, and until she found a place of her own. I allowed her to stay with me.
How long did she stay with you?
Oh, it was about 3 months till about January. And then an incident occurred where she started having a lot of her male friends calling in the middle of the night, and she'd talk to them for hours. She wasn't providing anything around the house. She was like basically living as if I was, a parent or something, taking care of her. And so I asked her to leave, and then she got violent one day on the car. I was picking her up from work. She didn't have a vehicle at the time. she took the mirror off and started hitting me with it and stuff. So I said, you have to leave. You have to go. And it's not good for the environment of your son. So she got an apartment and all. Well, she started getting behind on her bills because she, for whatever reason, and she basically wanted to either come back to live with me or, she needed help with her bills. So for the little boy's sake, and I still have feelings for her. I mean, I know in my head that, it never worked out between us. I still care for her and adore the child. So,
do you visit with the child?
I was up until recently, until all this mess with the checks go, and so I haven't seen him quite a while now.
That's too bad.
Yes, it is.
That's
I
too
feel
bad
sorry
for
for
him.
the little boy, and then I feel sorry for myself, of course.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
How much did you give her that she failed to
Okay,
return?
what it was at the time I didn't even have the money, but she needed $250 immediately for her rent in cash. So she wrote me a check out, but I didn't have the cash in my account at the time. And she needed it that night. Then I finally agreed to give it to her. So I went to the National Check Cashiers, and they have a $37.50 charge. So she wrote me a check for the $250 plus the additional $37.50. And then she told me about her car being in the shop, and she couldn't get her car out unless she had the money for it. And it was additional $250. So we went to her car shop, and I wrote her $250. And she told me at that time, she says, well, I get paid Saturday. This is like on Thursday. She said, the money will be good by Monday. So she wrote me the second check for $250, which is what I wrote out to the car dealership. And I have all this information here.
So far I'm up to $537.50.
Right. And so it comes to Monday. So I held up. I didn't really need the money at that time. So I held up to the Monday, go to her bank, and I asked him, I said, do you have the money in the account? No, we don't. So then I tried getting a hold of her. She avoids my calls. And
but she still owes you the money. She stopped payment. According to your paper, she stopped payment on these checks.
Yeah, well, eventually, then I deposited the checks. I was trying to do is prevent her from getting her bounce check charges and from me getting them.
So all told, including, sir, the fees for these checks being stopped, came to $602.
Right. Well, that included the mirror, because one of the things I was asking for was that she reimbursed. Because then when I got upset with this, and she promised she would never hit me with the mirror and stuff again, then she turned around and then she did this with the check. So I said, well, I'm going to go for a reimbursement of where you broke the mirror. That doesn't count the medical payments of where she injured me with the mirror.
How did she injure you with the mirror?
Oh, when she broke it off, she started beating me with it.
Where?
Oh, or about I put my hands up, so I have them about my wrist and arms and stuff.
Mr. Barnett, you better put a period to the end of this relationship.
Oh, it's already happened.
Okay. Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $602, the amount of his request. Thank you, sir.
Excuse me. Step out, sir.
And
versus Gray. Step forward, please.
33-year-old Laurie Vona is suing her ex-boyfriend, Randy Gray, because she says he filed false charges causing her to be arrested. Randy is countersuing, claiming that in a violent rage, Laurie threw an electric can opener at him, cutting off a portion of his ear.
Order. All rise. Your Honor, this is case number 140 in the matter of Vona versus Gray. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Have a seat, sir. Have a seat.
Ms. Vona, you have a rather interesting complaint, to say the least, madam. It's clear from your complaint that you assaulted the defendant and cut his ear in half. And
I assaulted him?
Yeah. You sort of acknowledge the fact that you did that. You're going to tell me the whole story, but you acknowledge the fact that as a result of picking up an object, you assaulted him and his ear was split. Is that the ear?
Yes, ma'am.
I see it. So you're suing him for $5,000 that covers the cost of your being arrested and bail and lawyer's fees, plus loss of work in defending yourself because he subsequently dropped the charges.
That's not true, Your Honor.
Okay, so let me hear, and then we'll get to your countersuit, sir, which you, I understand, have just filed today and served on the plaintiff. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Ms. Vona, tell me about it.
Here's the statement to police, which ended...
No, tell me, don't give me the statement to the police. You tell me what happened. You two were together, were an item for years.
He came by my house.
Just a second. You two were an item. You lived together, dated...
No, he wasn't living there.
Dated for a long time. How long?
On and off?
Yes.
I'm not sure. About over a year.
Okay. But it was not a good relationship. It
No.
was an abusive relationship, you
Yes.
claim. So tell me what happened on this day.
He came by my house. I have the can opener here. I have pictures of the house to describe how the kitchen is. And he came by my house. He was really, really drunk and calling me names. And I said, "Go away, Randy." And I went to call the police. He grabbed the phone out of the wall, so I couldn't call the police. He came at me. He said I was, because I don't know why, he was drunk, very drunk. He'd been sitting up there for 3 hours.
Sitting up where?
It's, where was he? Bill's Market, where he goes to get drunk all the time. The corner market.
Okay, so he came into the house?
So he came, he called me a bunch of names. I said, "Leave me alone." And when he saw that I was going to call the police, he came after me. I thought he was going to hit me. I just reached for whatever I could. I said, "Stay away from me. Get back." And he came at me anyways, and I said, "Stay away." And I just swung it and it hit him in the air. And I really did not mean...
Let me see the can opener.
It's kind of old and been around. I'd like to demonstrate.
So's his ear. It's been around, right?
Your Honor, may I add something else?
Okay.
His last girlfriend... Oh, okay. She broke his jaw with a 2x4.
So, well, he doesn't have much luck with women.
And he had it wired shut.
Okay, so is that the can opener that sliced your ear?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so what did you do after you hit him with the
I
can
called the
opener?
police right away.
And what happened when you called the police?
Well, he grabbed the phone out of me. He said he was going to kill me, and I just ran because he's yelling about his ear.
So you left the house?
I left. I called the police. I said, "Here's the police."
Don't tell me the report. I'm more interested in what you have to say.
Okay.
Okay, so
I
you hit
left.
him. You saw he was bleeding.
Yes. I left, and I had my landlord right away. I said, "Mr. Fowler, take Randy to the hospital." And he went over to take Randy to the hospital. He wouldn't go. He had duct taped his ear.
Just a second.
It's in a police
Now,
report.
Shh, Ms. Bona.
Sorry.
Hold it. Now, Mr. Gray, I read your answer. Were you drunk when you came to her house? No, don't look down.
I had a few beers, yes.
A few is how many?
4 or 5.
So you were a little bit...
No less than Lori had drank that night.
Yeah, but she didn't go to your house. You went to her house.
No, ma'am. We lived in that house together. We co-inhabited that house. It says so right in the police report.
When was the last time you slept there?
The night that this happened?
Well, before that night.
The night before that?
Had he been sleeping there? Look at me, Ms. Bona. Had he been sleeping there? You sure?
Yes, I swear under penalty.
Well, maybe you forgot where you were sleeping, sir. Listen, you got to the house and you were a little bit drunk.
No, ma'am, that's not how it started at all.
Well, how did it start?
We both came home from work at the same time. Lori picked a fight with me.
About what? Stop playing with the papers. She picked a fight with you about what?
About what I'd found in her purse. Because I asked her for a cigarette. When I walked in the door home from work, I said, "Lori, do you have a cigarette?" She said, "Look in my purse." I looked in her purse, found something there, shouldn't have been there, confronted her with it. She started screaming at me. I walked down to the store, give her and myself time to cool off, came back. I sat down on the...
So you left the house and you went to the store.
Which is 3 houses away.
And is this at this store where you had a beer or two?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So that part of the story isn't so different. You weren't in the house, you had a few beers, and then you came back to the house.
Yes, ma'am.
And what happened when you came back to the house?
Lori threatened to call 911 on me because we were arguing, and every time we got in an argument, that's the first thing she would do is pick up the phone, call 911, say, "Help, he's trying to kill me."
Mm-hmm. So,
Then
what
I
happened?
told
She
her-
went to the phone, she's calling 911.
No, ma'am. I picked up the phone. I said, "You know what, Lori, I'm going to call your work and tell them what kind of person you really are." I picked up the phone.
What were you going to tell them?
What was I going to tell them? Her actions, what she does, how she treats me, how she acts around the house, what she does
Our
off
boss
work.
wouldn't be interested in that, sir.
Well, that's right. That's when she hit me over the head, not once, but twice with the can opener, leaving a 3-inch gash right here and doing this to my ear.
Now, what I found interesting about your answer to this was you said that immediately after this happened, you fell asleep on the couch. And you waited for her to come home to take you to the hospital.
Yes, ma'am.
Why would she, after being so furious with you, to split your head open, why would you, if you were in your right mind, fall asleep on the couch and think that she was going to come home and take you to the hospital?
Because this kind of thing had happened many times before, only not to that extent.
All right. Now, ultimately, sir, you decided not to press charges. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
But you did, in fact, file a police report, so she was arrested.
Yes, ma'am. That's because when I came back to her house a week later after this happened, I went to the hospital, I left, I went and stayed with my mother. I came back to get my belongings, which was a lot of paperwork, tools, clothes. She told me that she'd thrown all those away. I had a pickup truck that was parked there. She had slashed all the tires, broke all the windows, stabbed the body parts full of holes. And that's when I told her, you know, I'm going to go press charges against you, Lori. And then she towed it out in the street to be towed away by the county.
You didn't see her do all the damage to the truck?
No, ma'am, but it was parked in front of her home. I'm sure she either did it or witnessed it.
She may have. Did you do all the... Ms. Vona, stop shaking your head now. It's very important that you tell me the truth, madam, because I'm like a true... Stop looking.
I did not do that, Your Honor.
Well, who did all those things to his truck?
His ex-girlfriend's son, Jeremiah. She lives up the street. His ex-girlfriend, the one who broke his jaw with the 2x4. She couldn't get rid of him for 4 years. He started yelling at her that day, and Jeremiah came by and broke your windows. Why would I break your windows? It already looked ugly in front of my house. Why would I want an uglier truck in front of my house?
Okay.
The truck was ugly, ma'am. It was no doors. And then I would like to demonstrate with this cow number that it's not consistent with an attack. So it was broken and how it got hit.
His ear is split open. Don't make it worse for yourself.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
The reason we have a court, Ms. Vona, is because two people cannot agree. Two people cannot agree.
Yeah,
so you
just...
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Randy Gray is being sued by his former girlfriend, Lori Vona. She claims Randy had her arrested on false charges. Randy is countersuing because in a violent rage, Lori threw an electric can opener at him, cutting off a portion of his ear.
Now, what I find interesting is you didn't have her arrested immediately. Why?
Because I have a lot of feelings for Lori. I have a lot of feelings for her 2 children. I didn't want to see anybody get thrown in jail. I knew what kind of things that spousal abuse does to people nowadays, the new laws, and I couldn't see throwing somebody in jail, making her lose her job and her children. I just couldn't do it.
Listen to what you just said to me.
Yes, ma'am.
She attacked you with a can opener, your body, your person.
Yes, ma'am.
She slit your ear in half. I can see where it's cut. And you didn't press charges against her. Then she damaged your truck. So you decided to press charges against her. Does something not sound right to you, sir? She almost, according to you, she almost killed you.
No, ma'am, I didn't say that.
Well, that thing, hitting somebody on the head with that thing can kill them. If it's placed right, right? It could almost kill you. It only goes to show you, men have this peculiar thing with their trucks, their cars. Do you understand how foolish that sounds to a woman? You know, a woman would say, God, you put your hand on my finger.
Yes, ma'am.
And I'm going to have you arrested.
And I would have been arrested if I would have ever laid a finger on her or attacked her the way she says. I would have been in jail, guaranteed.
Okay. Now, why are you... So she's suing you for false arrest.
Yes, ma'am.
You ultimately dropped the charges against her.
Yes, ma'am. I called up the district attorney that was in charge of her case and told her I would come down there and lie for her. I lived at her house at this time when she was going to court for this.
Okay. Now, were the charges ultimately dropped?
I was completely exonerated when this had the evidence.
Just a second. Did you have a trial?
No.
Now, Ms. Vona, don't try to do a fast talk on me.
Well, that's what it says here.
Don't do a fast talk on me. Did you have a trial?
No, I did not, ma'am.
If you didn't have a trial, then you weren't completely exonerated.
Oh, that's just what it says here.
Just listen to me.
I didn't know what it even meant. I had to look it up in the dictionary.
Right. What happened is he refused to press charges and he refused to come forward and testify at the trial.
I think they would have went ahead anyways if they believed that I was guilty of anything, because if you hurt somebody, whether or not they press charges, the district attorney will go ahead and press charges.
Now you're in the head of the district attorney.
No, I'm saying that's...
He said he wasn't going to prosecute...
I don't believe that he did that.
Oh, I believe that he did that. I believe that. After he sobered up a little bit and looked at the truck and said it's not so important, and he said he really has feelings for you, he didn't want you to go to jail. I believe that he did that. But that's not false arrest, Ms. Vona. You did, in fact, cause injury to him.
He made a false statement to the police, resulting in my arrest.
Well, let me see what the false statement was.
Oh, sure. I didn't know you didn't see it.
The statement that he gave to the police, according to his declaration, madam, is exactly what he told me. Now.
So I can't. He lied in his report to the police.
No, he didn't.
Yeah. How could he have been working 3 hours before 6:49?
Listen to me.
That's the first statement's a lie.
Listen
It goes
to
on
me.
to lie and lie, lie. It's false
His
arrest.
statement, no, it isn't. You just acknowledged to me.
Yes, I heard him. It was in self-defense. I was in fear of my life.
Fine. That's not false arrest, madam. That's what the police officers observed. Him injured, you not. That's not false arrest. He had you arrested because you did, in fact, slice his ear in half. So.
It was self-defense, ma'am. And
if you
came at me again, I'd do it again.
Well, then I would have there was never a trial. That's for a criminal trial to determine whether it was in self-defense.
They did. They exonerated me. Exonerate. That's what it says.
Ms. Bonner, you can dance. You can dance from today till tomorrow. Your lawsuit is dismissed. Now, let's get to you. You have a counterclaim.
Yes, ma'am.
You have a counterclaim against her for how much? I want to see the papers that you filed.
I don't believe this.
I want to see the papers that you filed.
So you don't even have to review the evidence?
Ms. Bonner, will you ever serve today with a copy of a cross-complaint by Mr. Gray?
Just today, ma'am. I had no time to prepare for it.
Can I see what you were served with?
Whatever they gave me.
I'd like. Do you have it?
Somewhere in here.
Did you file that cross-complaint in a court, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Which
Sacramento
court?
Small Claims Court.
When did you file it?
Friday, this last Friday.
All right, Ms. Bonner.
I gave both copies to the lady.
Could I see what you were served with today, please? I'll wait.
Well, I really don't feel like giving you anything.
Well, Ms. Bonner,
but I will.
Of course you will.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
This is a good weapon, ladies. Can openers work wonders.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Randy Gray is being sued by his former girlfriend, Lori Vona. She claims Randy had her arrested on false charges. Randy is countersuing because in a violent rage, Lori threw an electric can opener at him, cutting off a portion of his ear.
It's a very narrow legal issue, Ms. Vona.
So
filing a false report causing somebody to be arrested is a very technical, legal four corners.
So if there's a false report, how come?
There is not a false report, madam. He alleged that you hit him with a can opener, causing his ear to be sliced in half. At least two police officers responded to the scene, saw his ear sliced in half, and took that report. That's what the report says.
That he refused to press charges.
Then he changed.
You're not reading all the evidence.
Then he changed his mind, which he is absolutely entitled to do.
If he tells the truth in a complaint, I wouldn't have been arrested for 3 felonies. For sure, if he says I attacked him with a can opener, they're going to slice me with all these charges.
Are you going to show me what he served you with today?
If I can find it.
Good.
I don't know. I just had everything. I just can't believe that it's self-defense. And you
just find
you just said yourself they were false charges. I heard you. The whole court heard you. So whatever. I already lost, so go ahead.
Can I see that, please?
I have to have, you know. You just said he filed a false police report. You're acknowledging that. But you say that I am not, because you don't, I'm not going to say it.
Sir, you filed this report. You allege conversion of a Chevy pickup truck and a dent to his 1982 Pontiac. That have to do with the trucks that were outside her house?
No, ma'am. It has to do with this case. It has to do with the bail amount. She came by my friend's house here when I was there, told me I owed her bail money, and if I wouldn't get out there and talk to her, she was going to run into my car. I said, I have nothing to say to you. She ran into my car and drove off.
She ran into which car?
My Pontiac Firebird.
Did you do that?
No, ma'am, I did not. And I have the letter. Well, it doesn't matter what I have because you're not going to look at it anyway.
I have a witness that she did it in front of his house that witnessed her, him, his wife, and his neighbors.
Step up, please.
Yes, ma'am.
What did you see?
I seen her come to my house, ask for him to come out, and he refused to talk to her because he didn't want to have nothing to do with her. And she went over and hit his car first with her fist. I guess she couldn't do enough damage with that. Then she got in her car and rammed into it and then took off.
You have an estimate for damage to the car?
Yes, ma'am.
Can I see it, please?
Can I be excused? This is all a joke.
No, you can't be excused until the case is over. You know, listen to me. You have an absolute right to be present during the remainder of these proceedings. The reason we have a court, Ms. Vona, is because two people cannot agree. Two people cannot agree.
Yeah,
so you come into court asking a court, both of you, whether or not the court can resolve an issue. If you are not happy with that judgment, that doesn't mean you stomp your feet like a baby and pick up your marbles and leave.
What a joke.
Bird, she can leave.
Thank you.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
What were your medical bills, sir?
$367.43, which I haven't paid either.
Let me see them, please. All right, so far I have damages in the amount of $1,234. You have a drinking problem, Mr. Gray?
No, ma'am.
I think you do. I want to tell you something. I think you do. And while there is no excuse for what Ms. Vona did to you, I believe that in all probability, you are not a stranger to the courts in the area of domestic violence situations, whether you were the victim or whether you were the perpetrator. Do you understand?
Yes,
it's happened to you
I
before.
understand what you're saying.
And I would suggest to you, sir, that probably a good deal of that comes as a result of your drinking. Bird, I hear her making a racket out there, so I want her out of my courthouse. Get her out of my courthouse. So, I'm entering a judgment in your favor, Mr. Gray, in the amount of $1,234, which are your medical bills and the damage to the truck. That's all.
Excuse, you may step out.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And dairy farmer Bird Miller wants 31-year-old Jason Hager to pay the damage caused to his pickup truck after clubbing it. Jason claims it was self-defense.
Order, all rise. Judge, number 204 on the calendar in the matter of Miller versus Hager. Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated. Have a seat.
Shame on you both. Always strikes me is when two adult men get into a car and get into a contest and let their testosterone take off and rule their heads, there's trouble. Especially when there's a child in the car, like this gorgeous little blonde thing. Mr. Miller, you're suing Mr. Hager because you say that after some sort of a dispute in your car, he was driving his, you yours, he attacked your car with a club.
Yes.
And caused almost $400 worth of damage to the car. Tell me how it started, sir.
I was making a turn off of Valley View Street. I was going south. There's a frontal road there beside of it. Hager was coming, going south also on it. He run the stop sign. And as a result of it, I almost hit him. If I hadn't stopped, I would have hit him. I blew my horn. He raised his finger at me, and we proceeded down the frontal road.
So you're both now going in the same direction?
We're both going in the same direction.
And this is your grandchild?
Yes.
She was in the car with you?
Yes.
Where was she sitting, front or back?
Well, it was a pickup, so she's in the front.
Right next to you?
Yes.
Go ahead.
We came to an alley that runs down behind a shopping mall, and we proceeded down it, and we got to the end of the stores.
Which car was first and which car was second?
He was following me.
Just a second. His car was first, your car was second.
Yes.
Were you following him, sir?
Yes.
Why?
I was behind him. I mean,
were you following?
I'm going in that direction.
He was chasing me.
Shh, just a second. I'm going to get to you in a second, sir. You said you got to an alley.
Well, it's an alley, and it's also behind the store, but it's a parking lot also.
Well, were you going into that parking lot, sir?
No, I wasn't going into the parking lot.
So you were actually not behind him. You were following him.
Okay, I was following him.
Now, why were you following him?
So I could get his tag number.
Okay. And then what happened?
As we got to the end of the stores, there's also another small frontal road that leads to the front of the stores. He partially made the turn and stopped, jumped out, grabbed his club, and ran at me while I'm stopped. I had, in the meantime, stopped. He ran about 30 feet towards my truck, ran up to the side of me, took a swing at me. I pulled my truck forward, and he hit the back of my cab.
Can I see the damage to your car?
If you'll notice, Your Honor, the damage is at an angle as if you were swinging something, and you'll see that it's also right in line with me in the truck. So if I hadn't pulled forward, he would have hit me in the truck.
This has an open top, sir?
No, it's you looking at. May I get it to you? Oh, come on, surely. I take better pictures than that.
I got it. I got it now. Oh, I thought it was a convertible truck. I hadn't seen one of those. All right. Now I got it. All right, Mr. Hager, let's hear you, sir.
Well, what he said is correct as far as he was following me. I was very close to my home. I didn't want him, I wasn't going to go home knowing he was following me. I became fearful, wasn't sure what I should do. So yeah, I stopped, and in an attempt to defend myself, knowing that not knowing what he's going to do, I did take my club. He sees me stop. He's coming at me. He puts his head out the window of his truck and says, "I'm going to run you over." That's when he started to come at me with the truck. I jump out of the way, and he backs up a little bit and comes at me again. The second time is when he came close enough to me that I could swing and hit the truck.
All right, so I have a few questions for you, Mr. Hager. You live in that area, sir?
Yes. I was less than a block away from my home.
And how long have you lived there?
About 18 months.
So you know where the local police precinct is?
Actually, I found it after this.
You mean you didn't know before?
No. Well, it's a very large city. I wasn't sure where to go.
I don't believe you, sir. You see, I see this. You see, I see this around here.
Well,
and I'm like a truth machine. So don't tell me that you didn't know where to find a policeman.
I went to. Well, no, that would have been the alternative. Was driving around.
That's an alternative rather than getting out of your car with a club.
Right.
Because it doesn't seem to me to be logical, sir, that if you're in fear of your life, you are defending yourself against a 2-ton truck with a 2-pound club.
Right.
You see, that doesn't make sense. To me, what makes sense is if you're in fear, you stay in your car. What kind of a car were you driving?
A Camaro.
So you stay in your Camaro and you drive around until you see a police car, if you don't know where the local police precinct is.
Right.
Right.
But I thought of that after, but in the fear, I wasn't thinking that logically.
Listen to me, Mr. Hager. Why were you in fear, sir? You were in your car, windows closed, right? Windows closed.
No.
You could have closed the windows, Mr. Hager, right? You do have electric windows in your Camaro?
Yes.
So you press a button, you close the window, and you keep driving, and you say to yourself, I got some nut here behind me. I'm not going to get out of this car. I'm going to stay in my car. But you get out of your car. Where was the club?
On the passenger seat.
You pick up the club, and you get out of your car. That doesn't make sense to me, Mr. Hager.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Wonder how afraid he was when he stuck his finger up. Could we ask him that question?
And later today.
Make me look like a liar. Make me look bad when you know you was stripping and you know you was working, Nicole. Don't stand there and lie.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Bird Miller says Jason Hager's gesture led to violence, smashing Bird's pickup.
You pick up the club, and you get out of your car. That doesn't make sense to me, Mr. Hager. It doesn't. It's illogical, sir.
To drive around looking for the police, I needed to, at some point, decide I'm going to stop and defend myself. That was it.
Defend yourself against what, sir?
This gentleman.
He's in his car.
I don't know that he's going to threaten to run me over. I think he's going to get out.
How can he run you over in your Camaro, sir? Sitting in your car, how can he run you over, Mr. Hager?
He can't.
Right. Sitting in your car, he can't run you over. Only when you're outside of your car, standing there armed with a weapon, can he run you over. Your mistake was getting out of the car. And then you hit his truck. So you were in a combat posture with a weapon. I mean, I'm not suggesting that what this man did was correct. I think, Mr. Miller, to be quite honest with you, sir, you're old enough to use your brains, and if this guy ran a stop sign, as you say, of course, you didn't run the stop sign. Is that correct?
Correct.
I knew that. I knew that's what you would say. But you have a very precious cargo. Not you, her. And so if you have a very precious cargo, and if you were fortunate enough, and God was watching you, and you didn't have an accident at that stop sign, you take a deep breath, and you say, phew, finished. I'm grateful that there was no accident, and you keep going. If you can get his license, that's fine. But to follow him into an alley is not swift.
It's really not an alley, Your Honor. I understand what you're saying, but
you understand what I'm saying.
I don't mean it's a,
I understand, but you got hot.
Oh, absolutely.
So
I'm not denying it at all.
Yeah, well, you want to get hot with you alone in the car. That's one thing, but you don't get hot when you have a baby in the car, especially a baby that looks like that.
Could I add something to this?
Sure, sir.
Okay. He said I almost hit him there at the stop sign. If you look at the pictures, you will see there's a medium between Valley View and where he would have been sitting. So, in other words, I would have had to jump across the medium in order to hit him.
Interesting, not terribly relevant, because we're not talking about what happened at the stop sign. What we're talking about was Mr. Hager's. You both exercised poor judgment on that day, in my view. But Mr. Hager's judgment is going to cost him the amount that you claim you spent or will spend to fix your car, and I assume you have a bill for that.
Your Honor, I have a bill for the damage. I don't have a bill for a rental car. It'll take 3 days to fix the truck, which is $25 a day.
Well, Mr. Miller, for your bad judgment, it's going to cost you to rent your car.
All right.
For his bad judgment, it's going to cost him to fix your car. And the grand total here is $279.80 to fix your car. Mr. Hager, it was a very dumb thing that you did, because he may not have been the kind of person that he is, and he may have, in fact, run you over. And your
sure of that.
And your 2-pound club wasn't going to help you. So,
well, my question is, if he cares enough about this truck to get it fixed, why is he chasing people and threatening them with it?
Mr. Hager, he wasn't smart to try to chase you to get your plate number, and I assume that that's what he was trying to do. He did not get out of his cab. You got out of your car. Dumb. Stupid. And not only did you get out of your car, you got out of your car with a weapon. So it's going to cost you. The amount it's going to cost you is the amount that it's going to cost to fix his car. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Thank you, Joe.
Out the back door to your right, please.
Come on.
And now the next case.
Parties on Cruz. Ambrosini versus Hernandez. Step forward, please.
16-year-old Nicole Ambrosini and her 20-year-old boyfriend, Moses Cruz, claim exotic dancer Lisette Hernandez owes them a refund on a condo.
You folks were living in the same hotel that the defendant was living in temporarily. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that where you became friends?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that right?
Well, we didn't become friends there. We became friends at work.
Okay. Don't tap. And there came a time when you were going to buy a condo. Is that right?
Yes.
And you approached the defendants to see if they wanted to rent a room in your condo that you were purchasing.
Exactly.
According to these papers, you said yes?
Yes.
And you needed some money.
Exactly.
How much money did you need?
$700.
And as sort of a down payment on their room, you gave her the $700?
Correction, Your Honor, that was $750. I have 2 contracts here signing. I had to pay a $500 first month and a $250 security deposit.
Okay, can I see what you have here,
Yes,
please?
ma'am. These are 2 pieces of evidence that I have, 2 contracts that Lisette signed herself.
Okay, fine. So let's assume it was $750. This is some contract.
I was in a rush, Your Honor. Grabbed the first thing I could. The next one's better.
Okay. And then, for some reason, which I'm sure that you will tell me, you decided not to move into the condo, and she gave you back $100, according to these papers. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am, she has.
And you want the other $650.
Yes, ma'am.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She was dancing with me. We were both dancers.
I'm sorry, I'm 16
And I made
years old.
$3,000.
I'm 16 years old.
I made $3,000, and she know that.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 16-year-old Nicole Ambrosini and her 20-year-old boyfriend Moses Cruz want the money back on a condo from exotic dancer Lisette Hernandez. Lisette says they moved out without giving notice.
Well, there came a time, I gather from these papers, that you moved out of the hotel but did not move right into the condo.
Right, Your Honor.
Where did you move?
Okay, at that time, we needed
This
a
is your
place.
boyfriend?
Yes, this is my boyfriend, Moses. We were looking for another location to live while we were waiting for the condo. We were going to just stay in the hotel. It was very expensive, so Lisette kindly offered us to stay in her boyfriend's house and pay $100 a week. We did that, and we stayed there for about 2 to 3 weeks, I believe, and we paid him for every week. At that time, we were told that she needed the money immediately, and we gave that money to her within 3 days because she had said she had a closing to meet. And it would
Closing on the condo.
Yes.
I understand that.
She said it would be about a month to get it, okay? So in our minds, we're thinking, okay, we only have to tough this out for about a month. We wound up not getting a condo or not moving into a place for 3 months. We were waiting to move in for 3 months.
Just a minute.
For 3 months, Your Honor.
Did you stay in the boyfriend's house for 3 months?
Yes. No, we did not. We stayed in the boyfriend's house for about 3 weeks. The other times we were staying at the hotel, and then my father was moving out of his apartment, and he was moving out half of the month early. So
you moved someplace else.
Yes. Right.
But there came a time when you ultimately said to her, I don't want to move in.
Right.
And when was that?
That was in, I guess, February, March, April.
How much after you had left the hotel and moved into the boyfriend's house did you tell her, I want my money back, I don't want to move in?
About a month.
That's a lie.
Okay, you tell me.
That's a lie. It was one day. Okay, this is what happened. When they moved into the apartment with my boyfriend, with me and my boyfriend, they was paying $100 a week, which is true. Okay, now, when they was moving out, I didn't know they was moving out. My boyfriend tells me one day, Lisette, do you know that they moving out? I said, what? He said, yeah, they're moving out. I said, no, I don't know nothing about it. He said, well, I'm getting ready to leave, so when I leave, you talk to them and ask them. When I came to you and asked her, I said, Nicole, y'all moving out? She said, yeah, we moving out. My father left me. Wait a minute. My father left me. My father left me an apartment, and I'm going to move into it, and we're going to keep paying the rent there or whatever to stay there. I said to her, so what do you expect me to do? You expect me to take the money right now and just give it to you when I don't have it? You know I'm trying to get this condominium, and I don't have the money right now to give to you. Okay, but before that happened, one day we had went out, or we was working or whatever. She was waitressing, and I was working in a place where we was working at. I made $4,000 that day, and I said to Nicole, I said, here, you know, I gave her like $1,200 to help her out or whatever. I never asked her for the money back. I never said nothing to her.
Listen to me. Listen to me.
Your Honor,
that's exactly what it was, $1,200.
Miss Hernandez, I'm going to simplify this. I've just, while you've been telling me this whole story, been looking at these 2 papers. These 2 papers, I assume that you recall signing. Is that right?
Right, and I agreed to pay her back the money. I did.
Okay, so
and I told her that I would pay for it as soon as I'd be able to get the money.
You signed the contract. So you owe her the money.
Right.
How much did you pay her back?
$100.
So you owe her $650.
Right, but she moved to Texas. But how did she expect me? I live in Florida. She lives, hold up. She gave me an address and expects me to make her money order every week and send her $50.
She said she would do
stamp
that.
and everything.
Moses.
I said to her, let me finish.
Sorry,
they said they will come back they was moving back to Florida, whatever.
Miss Hernandez.
She said that.
Moses. You got to train him better.
I try, Your Honor, I try.
You got to try harder. If you don't do it now, it'll be too late. Do you understand?
Yes.
They get into bad habits.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
Miss Hernandez, you owe her the $650.
Right.
Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $650.
Your Honor, I'm sorry. I wanted to make this easier for you, but in that time that I was struggling, trying to get money back, broke, Lisette wasn't paying us, my mother, who is a witness here today, sent me $300. I was living independently at the time.
What are you lecturing about? Just a second. What are you lecturing about? You sued for $650. I gave you $650.
Okay.
Say goodbye and thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Nerves.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. 32-year-old Irene Hipsher is suing her former fiancé, John Lemos, claiming that he stole her pet dog, Buddy, and secretly kept him for 2 years. John says he refuses to return the dog because it was neglected.
Order. All rise. Yeah, this is case number 251 on the calendar in the matter of Hipsher versus Lemos. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Have a seat, ma'am. Gentlemen, have a seat.
This is a really interesting case. Miss Hipsher, this is your dog, Buddy.
That's my dog, Buddy.
Don't cry yet. Okay? Because you have to tell me what happened.
I know.
So take a deep breath. You want some water?
Yeah, I'll take some. Thank
Okay.
you.
According to these papers, you and the defendant lived together with your 2 children. I assume that these are your 2 kids.
Yes.
The relationship was going south. You, Mr. Lemos, wanted her out of your house with the 2 children.
Correct.
And she was living there with the kids and Buddy.
Exactly.
According to your papers, you started eviction proceedings against her, correct?
Yes.
I'm not going to get into why. And sort of at the tail end of these eviction proceedings, it was about 4 months into trying to get her out of the house. According to your answer, you went over to the house and took her dog, right?
Correct.
You say you have a good reason for going over and taking the dog, but you took her dog. She didn't know where the dog was for how long?
2.5 years.
And you had seen him during those 2.5 years?
I have telephone records otherwise and stuff to prove that him and I were in communication over the telephone, visiting each other at each other's homes, the whole 9 yards.
Had you discussed Buddy?
Yes, a lot.
When you came home and found Buddy missing, what did you do?
I immediately called John at his mom's house and stuff, and at which time he told me that he had no idea where my dog was. He had no inclination of, he says, Irene, I'm sorry, but no, I didn't have anything to do with that. I feel really bad. Made it sound like really personal and stuff. So I went, other than to the Contra Costa County Animal Control, and I set up, that's when I started setting up the missing reports or otherwise and stuff. I searched the premises, went around the blocks, went around all streets, even made up signs. But that's my family member. That's
okay. How long had you had Buddy at that time?
I had Buddy for 7 years before John took him.
Okay. Now, how did you ultimately find out that Mr. Lemos had your dog?
My son Joshua was playing with his new girlfriend's son. I have no idea what his name was, but he had mentioned, Joshua asked his son, how many dogs does John have? And the boy came back with 2. Well, John automatically saw that the conversation was happening, pulled away the child from my son and stuff and told him, no, you gotta whatever, took him back, and then when the 2 confronted again, the 2 children, the boy says, oh no, I made a mistake. John only has 1 dog. He has Zeus.
So then your son came home and told this to you?
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay.
And this is at his house, place of residence. I was visiting the neighborhood.
Okay, at his house, but not his mother's house.
No.
Which is where the dog finally ended up.
Yes.
You're his mother, correct? Yes. So tell me how you confronted him, ultimately.
I went to his house and stuff, and neither one of these 2 people were home, and whenever I looked over the fence, that's when I saw Buddy.
So you went to his mother's house?
Yeah, and that's whenever I found out that, because at first and stuff, I didn't let John know that what was being said between the kids or that I even questioned it, because if I did, he would have just ultimately ran with my dog. So I took it upon myself and stuff without even questioning him or without saying anything to him. I showed up at his mom's house knowing that she was at work and he was at work, showed up and just peered over the fence.
So then after you found out that they had your dog, what did you do?
I went to the San Leandro Police Department and filed a case against him and stuff, which I have copies of or otherwise. It's 9711035. Okay.
Did you call them and say, I want my dog back?
Later on that
Who
day.
did you speak to?
I spoke to John at first. I just hear her in the background saying how she was going to kill my dog before she gives him back to me. She's going to put my dog down. I could hear her screaming in the background, yes, John. And then all of a sudden and stuff, he's telling me and stuff. At first, it was a good conversation. It was like, oh, no, how you doing? Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. And then all of a sudden, I asked him, I says, John, I says, I heard you have my dog. You know, he says, Irene, I don't have your dog. I haven't seen him. I says, John, I was there. Ask your mom if I went by, because I went by her place of employment. She was standing outside, and I went by in a nice little cute little red car and stuff, and honked my horn, and she's all, not knowing who the hell I was, because I'm sure she would have given me the #1 finger first. But she waving at me and everything and stuff. I called it up.
All right, Mr. Lemos. You took her dog, right?
Yes, yes.
I'll hear your story.
Okay, the reason why I did take the dog was like the last 3 to 4 weeks before she finally got out of my house. She wasn't hardly even around at that time. All of her belongings were still there, but there was numerous times that I would go to my house, check on my house. We couldn't live together, of course, so I was staying at my mother's house. There was numerous times that I'd go out there and I would see that the dog had no food or water. And there was a couple of times that I had went out to my house, spent the night out there, and she never was there. I don't know where she was. I had no way of contacting her because I didn't know where she was, going from point A to point B. And so I had felt that the dog was being neglected because when I would go there, he wouldn't have any food or water. And I felt compassion for the dog, and I thought that I could give him a better home, which she could provide, because the last 4 weeks, it seemed to me like she could have cared less about the dog, or even trying to get out of my house, for that matter.
Mr. Lemos, I read your answer, sir. You know, judges are supposed to be able to relate to situations with a certain amount of common sense. Let me suggest to you what my common sense made from your answer. Let's pick a month. Let's say in December you decided to separate. She's living in your house with her 2 children. She says, I'm not moving now. You go down to municipal court, housing court, and file papers to have her evicted. She gets an extension of time. Is that what happened?
That's exactly what I did.
Because the judge looks at her 2 children, and says, I'm not going to put her out on the street tomorrow, even though it's his house. These people lived together for 2 years. She needs a little time to relocate. Meanwhile, you're getting more and more annoyed. So a month goes by, and 2 months go by, and you're getting hotter and hotter. And 3 months go by, and finally in month 4, you decide that the family pet is being neglected. So I'm going to take the family pet. Maybe next time, if you don't move, one of your children will be missing.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
When John first took him, I was crying because he was my pal.
And later today,
I hope that in the future you have also you make
problems,
your dream come true and you really become
this was not my dream.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 32-year-old Irene Hipsher is suing her former fiancé, John Lemos, for stealing her pet dog, Buddy, and keeping him for over 2 years. John says he only took Buddy because Irene was neglecting the dog.
Now, maybe your compassion for the dog was mixed with a little animus towards the plaintiff, but you have no right to take her animal. And then for 2.5 years, you lied to her. If you thought there was a legitimate question of animal neglect, you have the right to call authorities and say, this animal is being neglected. You didn't do that. How come?
Well, at that particular time, before that period, she was still around with the dog. Up to the last of 3 to 4 weeks, I didn't see her that much anymore.
So if you didn't see her that much anymore,
I mean, as far as
the few times that you went by the house, sir, and the dog was there, why didn't you call animal control and say, look at this dog. It's all skin and bones. It hasn't been fed. It hasn't been watered. It's being neglected. Then they would have taken the dog. And in all probability, if you were a person who was responsible, you might have gotten her dog. But the dog wasn't skin and bones, right, sir?
No, he wasn't.
No. So the question is, now what do we do with Buddy? The dog is her dog. Yes. The dog belongs to her. He brought the dog to you? Madam.
Yes.
Why don't you step up here? You're his mother.
Yes.
When he brought the dog to you, what did he say?
Just about what he told you, that he felt that the dog wasn't being treated right because there wasn't any food or water. And so he said that he felt that we could take care of the dog better, and he hadn't seen Irene. He didn't know where she was, so...
And you didn't question it?
No, I didn't.
Did you tell her you took the dog?
No.
So you've become attached to the dog, too?
Absolutely.
But the dog is hers?
I agree.
So it has to go back to her. Period. That's the end of discussion.
All right.
Yes, sir.
You know how she said it was being treated well? Her backyard was way worse than what we have now. They have apples all over the ground, not even grass.
I don't even have an apple tree anymore.
Tell me your name.
Jason.
Jason.
Pimentel.
Do you think this dog knows who you are?
Yeah.
Let me see. Let the dog go.
Come on, buddy. Come here, buddy. Come here, yes. Oh, yes. No, that's okay, boy. That's okay, boy. It's okay. That's okay. That's okay.
Don't hit him too hard, Jason.
Oh, yeah. That's a good Bobby's. That's a good Bobby dog. Yes, it is.
Now, the question is, Mr. Lemos.
Stay.
You did the absolute wrong thing, and I think that you traumatized not only the plaintiff, she's an adult.
Dog.
But these two little kids.
They weren't even there.
That's all right. The dog's going to have to get used to. Let the dog go. The dog's going to have to get used to your family all over again. But you traumatized two little children who were really innocents, and you traumatized them because you were annoyed that their mother wasn't moving out of your house fast enough.
Buddy.
True.
Buddy.
So,
the kids weren't there the whole time.
For want of a better word, sir,
Buddy.
you have to be punished.
Buddy, come.
So I'm going to punish you to the tune of $2,500. That's all.
Parties are excused. Step out, please.
Buddy.
Out the back door to your right.
Basically, instead, it all boils down to he's a mommy's boy. He has a brand new house. He's been living with mommy for the past 2.5 years.
No,
and him and
I
I've been broke up. Yes, you
No,
have.
I'm back at my house.
And now the next case.
Parties on Innocente versus Sierra Olivia. Step forward, please.
Actress Celeste Innocenti is suing playwright Jesus Sierra Oliva. She claims after he promised her the lead role in a play he was producing, the role was given to another actress. He says it was up to the director.
This is a case about principle. Plus $100.
Exactly.
What's your first name?
Celeste.
Celeste. And your first name, sir?
Jesus.
You are an actress by profession, or is that your avocation?
Well, I wish I earned more money at it, but it is my profession.
Okay. According to this complaint, Jesus offered you a role in a play that he was producing, correct?
Yes, correct.
A big role.
Mm-hmm.
And that play was to be performed at a small theater in September. I believe September 13th and 14th.
12th and 13th.
According to you, sometime later, he advised you that you didn't have the part and you had to audition for it again.
No, he never advised me that I didn't have the part.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Listen, you say I'm the boss, applesauce. You can pick anybody else you like. Carlotta is spoken for.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Actress Celeste Innocenti is suing playwright Jesus Sierra Oliva. She claims after he promised her the lead role in a play he was producing, the role was given to another actress. He says it was up to the director.
He said you had to audition for it again. He had some problems with the production.
He didn't say that I had to audition for it again,
What did he
Your Honor.
say?
He did say that auditions would be held. He left a message on my machine in late August, and then when I called him back, he said there were so many new parts and so many people had dropped out. He asked about my availability at that time. And then I told him, well, I'd been working on it for 2 months, and you have to understand, he initially called me to audition. He had gotten my name, and he said, well, you know, I heard you were a very good actress, and I would like you to audition. So at that point, having invested all this time and energy, I said yes. And in fact, the venue had been changed to a better theater, a more inconvenient date. But then I did say, yes, I was still interested.
So you did go and audition again?
Well, no, the director, finally he had gotten a new director because the previous director had dropped out. So the director never did answer my calls or return my calls, and finally I did get a hold of him, and he said, well, rehearsals will begin on next Monday. This was September 1st, Labor Day, and then there will be every Monday and Tuesday until the performance. And then that Friday he called me back and said there were going to be auditions Saturday and Sunday, and I said, excuse me, auditions? I had been working on this role for 2 months, and Jesus had hired me to do this role. And he said, well, then come in and meet me. And then the next morning, being Princess Di's funeral day, I get in there. I was already depressed. I get in. I heard somebody reading for the role, and then I asked Jesus about it, and even then he said, oh, no, you are Mama Carlotta. And then he said, you are the best I've seen so far. And you know, at that point, the director still didn't, you know...
Ultimately, he chose somebody else, the director.
The director told me that Jesus had never told him that the role was precast.
Okay. So he hired somebody else.
Exactly, yes.
And they had promised you a $100 stipend for this performance.
Yes.
You, sir, according to your answer, had some problems with the original production. Is that right?
Yes. I had problems that my theater, which I had for the 12th and the 13th of September, I thought I had already made the deal with the director of the Chicano Center. And it resulted that at the end, he said on July, when I called him, Jesus, I'm very sorry. I didn't put you on the list. Your event is not in my calendar. So I felt terrible because I had already promised my actors that they would be performing on the 12th and the 13th.
Now let me stop you right there, sir. When you say you promised your actors, this is one of the actors that you promised.
I did.
Now, could you... and then you went out and had to hire a new place and a new director.
That's right.
So you hired a new director.
Yes.
You did the hiring.
Why
didn't you tell the new director that this lady had the part?
I told him that I already had 6 actors. I had already lost 6 of them. And the director insisted on being himself Maximilian, or else he would not be part of the production. And then it seemed to me like everybody wanted to be Maximilian, all the men wanted to be Maximilian, and all the ladies wanted to be Carlotta.
Just a minute. Am I correct, sir, that you had already promised her the role of Carlotta?
Yes.
Well, so if everybody wanted to be Carlotta, what difference does it make? This is your production. Why didn't you just say to the director, you can cast anybody else that you want for other roles?
Yeah.
But I already have promised this lady, and for 2 months she's been working on the role of Carlotta. Is there any reason why you didn't say that?
Because I did not ask Celeste to work on the role for 2 months.
Ah.
I told everybody that their commitment would be for only the 2 first weeks of September.
For the performance?
For the performance
No,
only.
just a second.
And the rehearsals.
But she's an actress, so she was working on the part. Did you give her the script?
Yes, I did.
So she had the script from the time you first promised her the role.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
As far as I'm concerned, sir, you had an obligation when you hired a new director to tell him that at least one of these parts was already promised to this lady. Because you had given your word to her. She, as a result of your promise, went out and performed her job, which was to familiarize herself with the role, to work on it for a couple of months. It was within your control to see to it that she